if I was the incoming team, I'm not offering you the contract extension, so I don't care if you sign it.
But here's my point. He wouldn't draw this hard line unless he knew for a fact that the Phoenix Suns would be willing to give him said contract extension. So that's where it all comes down to. If I know my preferred destination will give me an extension, then I'm not going to settle for being traded anywhere else but there.
Why is that your preferred destination?
Because they're willing to give him his money,
right?
Which is what it's all about. He wants to get paid. I understand it. He's 35 years old. He got to get a bite at the apple when he can do it. He wants to get his money.
Good luck. We're unsportsmanlike.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
7 o'clock in St. Louis. You're listening to TMA. It's presented to you by Brown and Crouppen, Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne. Chairman Kurt in for Jackson Burkett, who is out with illness again. Doug, he is battling, and he will battle hard to try to return tomorrow. And I also think he is with Brian Windhorst breaking down the Luka Doncic trade.
Is that what it is?
That's what I actually think is really going on.
Well, he's a little trooper and a little champion at that, so he must really be sick if he's not here again.
I thought he might be doing a live stream, just 24 hours straight.
Missouri, Mississippi State, and NBA trade breakdown?
Maybe he's outside Caleb Grill's apartment right now holding up a giant boombox, kind of like John Cusack. Yeah.
So Jackson is ill. Chairman Kurt is on the ones and twos. And we welcome you to participate in the program via the text inbox 314-399-9646 by calling in 314-974-0101 and emailing in for the Design, Air, Heating, and Cooling email today, the morning after at InsideSTL.com, as history was made on Friday with the self-made stay-at-home Ladue mom become the first lady ever to win the Design, Air, Heating, and Cooling email of the month. And, man, what a party it was. That was fun. I'm used to bottle service, so that didn't stand out for me, but I know for you guys that had to be a treat.
Right, the band was fantastic. I think we all danced the night away. My feet are still sore. It's just such a celebration and long overdue in this industry or any other.
Yeah, I was a naughty little girl.
That's part of the press conference right there. On today's program, I think you're going to want to stick around for this. Jim Edmonds is going to do his, he told me, he said, this is it. This is like Jordan in The Last Dance. He goes, once I talk, I'm not talking to anybody else. This is it. 7:45 is the plan. Jim Edmonds is going to join us coming up on the program as Edmonds and the Cardinals parted ways on the FanDuel Sports Network broadcast for the upcoming season. For the purpose of clarity, we had texted a few weeks ago about him being a regular on TMA, and he said, I don't really live there anymore, and I'm not sure I'm going to be calling games anyway this year, so probably not. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't know that it wasn't really out there that he wasn't going to be doing games. But then on, I guess it was Saturday, Martin?
Was it a Saturday news dump? Yeah.
Is that a Saturday news dump?
Kind of like Saturday afternoon into the evening. Yeah, it was because those stories usually are not weekend nuggets. I think people at home just assumed he was on the broadcast, but just didn't know for sure. I actually had texted him when this show first began to be a surprise guest, just to jack around. Didn't respond. I said, okay. He was waiting. He's waiting for the right moments.
The right moment is 7:45 on today's presentation. He might jump on earlier, I'm not sure, but when we were texting yesterday, 7:45. Also on the program, the Colonel will be with us as Missouri. With winning is one thing, but to win in the fashion that they did at number 12 Mississippi State, holy crap, that was something else. And Missouri, I would imagine, will be right around 15 or higher. When the NCAA's college basketball polls come out later today. And ILL comes back yesterday. Martin, we saw the Billikens with a rough one on Friday night. College basketball recap here.
Great atmosphere. The Blizzard was fun. Our sports acumen is often in question, Doug. We'll make a bold prediction and then it just falls flat. This guy is the best. Driving down to the SLU game, brother-in-law Nathan, Carson ended up sick. Everybody in the world is sick right now. My son, so he missed the game. So my brother-in-law went. My wife's in the car, and I'm explaining to them who Robbie Avila is. And I said, the best guy on SLU. He's got these goggles. It's kind of a big deal, and everybody knows who Robbie Avila is. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I go through this whole spiel. And we're there in the pregame, and I pointed, and my wife said, oh, that's the guy. He's really nice. She said, oh, okay. I would have been surprised. I said, I know. Even Coach Shirt's jokes doesn't look the part. I said, he's unbelievable. He can pass well. He makes free throws. He makes threes. And he did none of the above. And she kept saying, are you sure? And she now thinks that I have the least qualified basketball opinion of anyone ever because Robbie Avila may have played the worst game he's played since like third grade. It was terrible.
Yeah, he had all kinds of chances to win that game for him. They hung with him, but he couldn't get the layup to fall. He couldn't get a free throw to fall, a three-pointer. Had the ball stolen a couple times. I'm not sure what happened, but Yeah, that's not the Robbie Avila that we're used to seeing, for sure.
Nice comeback there. I mean, they got back into the game, but when you dig that big a hole, it's tough. I feel bad for Billiken fans who are always just waiting for something big to happen. And beating Dayton means a lot to them, to the students. There's a lot of St. Louis kids that go to Dayton. But they get them again, Tim, on the road. Chance to get them on the road. So, tough loss for the Bills. But I got to tell you, this Mizzou thing, they were picked 13th in the preseason SEC. And they're sitting in third right now. Long way to go.
And what John Calipari says is the best conference ever. That's what he said.
Best
Saturday night at Rupp Arena.
Ever.
Huh.
Yeah. Best conference ever, in Missouri is third. That one, I mean, you win at Florida, God bless America, but to beat that team, and I realize it's Mississippi State, perhaps the least recognizable brand of all of the schools in the SEC. I think that'd be fair because at least Vanderbilt has an incredible academic institution. But as far as sports goes, Mississippi State usually flying under the radar, minus that one college football season. But they're a 12th ranked team in the country, and to beat them like that, holy crap. Caleb Grill, Doug, going off.
Shooting from the logo.
Yeah. He can really sling it. If you got a guy who can really shoot the threes in college, you're never really out of a game. One of the problems is everybody thinks they have a guy who can shoot threes all day long. And so sometimes you just fall apart completely. But he seems to be the real deal. And as long as he can, jack up those threes and hit them at a pretty good clip, they got a shot.
I don't know if you've
anybody they play.
Have you ever seen a stranger sequence where you go winless in conference, which was embarrassingly bad? And I don't think Laird Veach is like, I got to fire this guy for one terrible season. But he was a new AD. He inherited Dennis Gates, who was hard. And as willy-nilly as college sports is now, you had to wonder, hey, is there any chance they'd fire the guy? I mean, after a horrifically bad season, obviously they thought this guy can turn it right and turn around quickly in college basketball.
It's really hard to go through an entire season and not win a single league game. That's hard.
That same coach, that same guy that I'm sure last year, I don't know what's going on here, is now got a team that looks like he can make a nice tournament run.
That could be college sports from here on out, with the transfer portal being what it is. You're never going to have the same team anywhere close 2 years in a row, probably.
Every coach that's struggling right now should be telling their AD, well, look at that guy, Gates. See what Gates... They can all use him as an example to save their job whenever they're on the hot seat.
Chairman Kurt is running the board with Jackson out, and I got a text that says, I'm working on the camera thing. But the thing is, I don't know what the camera thing is.
If you take a look at the YouTube feed, the moneymaker is not on camera.
Oh my God, Doug, I'm not on camera.
Where's Tim?
Boy, a lot of Hitachi magic wands are not being used right now.
So camera work was not part of my training with Professor Burkett.
He's
a professor.
It's usually just to set it up, hit go live, and once we turn the mics on, those cameras are connected and they fire up. Tim's did not. It's unacceptable. I've got text out to Mike Ryder, and some of our best engineers are going in remotely to work on it.
It always happens over the weekends. You notice that? This goes back to our friends at low-powered AM radio, HD2 radio. It doesn't matter, Doug, even when you hit the big stage, New York City, Broadway, right here, HD1, looking out on Olive Street Road in St. Louis, Missouri, what was a top 5 market 45 years ago, still trending as a market 23. And the camera just sometimes something just gets. Do you like the term dilly dally?
I don't mind it.
Yeah, dilly dally.
Okay. I would suggest you turn the camera off, only to turn it right back on.
Oh, the power reset.
I will absolutely not be touching anything related to the cameras.
Okay. Would you like my camera, Tim?
Doug, really, you and I should both turn ours.
We should.
Yeah, get a different
aim
variety.
him.
Oh, there's a 2 Fox live truck out front now. I think
is that for the self-made stay-at-home Laduma?
No, I think they're doing a story on Tim's camera not working.
Breaking news live. Well, Doug, what we'll do is we'll soldier through here on the presentation. Tell the people about Mark Milton. He's online at stltaxlawyer.com. He's a big Billiken supporter.
Oh, he's a huge Billiken fan and a huge hockey supporter, too. I saw his advertisement out at the Maryville rink over the weekend when I was watching little hockey game out there. Mark Milton's everywhere, and he's there to help you with your taxes if you need it. But what he really specializes in is helping people who have had tax problems in the past, maybe unfiled returns, tax liens, or bank levies, maybe wage garnishments, or, heaven forbid, you're facing a criminal investigation from the IRS and the godforsaken tax man. That's where Mark Milton comes in. You need to contact him at stltaxlawyer.com. Mark Milton and stltaxlawyer.com provide a local and holistic approach to tax resolution groups. Mark started his legal career with the Department of Justice Tax Division in Washington, D.C., where he represented the IRS in tax cases throughout the country and even received the DOJ's Outstanding Trial Attorney Award. This guy is absolutely one of the best in the country, and now he's right here in St. Louis to help you through any problem you may have with your taxes. So if you have any IRS issues, contact Mark Milton at stltaxlawyer.com today, and you'll be saying, no, I'm not guilty. I'm with Milty. Remember, the choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
Ladies and gentlemen, the program is TMA, your Captain's Log DBA, the dossier, which is presented to you by Stiefel, Doug, as we are thrilled to have them on board the program. The Stiefel dossier, Jim Edmonds, coming up at 7:45. Gabe DeArmond, 9 o'clock. Chris Kerber with the Blues getting the win last night after a debacle in Denver on Friday night. But the Blues win last night. He will be with us at 10:15. Then the Design, Air, Heating, and Cooling email today coming your way at 10:50. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, Chairman Kurt with you. This is TMA 101 ESPN and the TMA STL YouTube channel. Hey, this is Tim McKernan for Universal Windows Direct. In 2025, let's start fresh by making your home more comfortable, energy efficient, and draft-free. If you've been feeling the chill in your home or seeing those energy bills climb higher than they should, it's probably your windows. Let Universal Windows Direct help you kick off the year with a warmer, cozier home and incredible savings. Universal Windows Direct is offering an amazing deal right now. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free. That's right. For every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 more absolutely free with no limit and 36 months of no interest financing. That's 3 years to pay for your windows without a single cent of interest. Plus, if you've already received a quote from another company, bring it to Universal Windows Direct, and they will beat it. Don't wait for the winter weather to do more damage to your home or your wallet. Call Universal Windows Direct today at 314-334-2522 to schedule your free in-home estimate, or visit universalwindowsdirect.com. And like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows. It's TMA 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, Chairman Kurt in for the ill Jackson Burkett. It's a program that welcomes you to participate by calling in, by texting in, by emailing in, or by watching the program at youtube.com/TMASTL, the Air Alliance team, sponsor of our studio cameras here. Jim Edmonds going to join us coming up at 7:45 as he is off the Cardinal broadcast for the upcoming season. And I was texting with him yesterday to see, what his side of things were. And he said there really is no side. I didn't really want to do it. And he lives in Tennessee like 95% of the time. But he is going to talk it over with us coming up at 7:45 to give his perspective on a variety of different topics. So I think you're going to want to stick around for that. So then the question becomes, who's on the Cardinal broadcast this year?
Because Brad Thompson, friend of the show, friend of the station, had become the primary guy. Edmonds was probably doing about 40 or 50 games over the last few years, but they always had a rotation. Kerber would be in there. Rick Ankiel was in the studio more so. I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably mostly Brad at this point.
Wainwright would do any?
Well, the article in the paper said Mark Sweeney was going to do some.
And he had done some of the pregame last year, former Cardinal. I think Tom Pagnozzi did some studio work last year. Yeah, that's an interesting thought on Wainwright because he's got so much going on. He told me last year that he was doing too much, and he told his wife, I know, I retired, but he's singing and doing games. He's everywhere. I think he's going to be at the Symphony with Joe Buck this year. Is that next month? Honestly, I think that might even be this month.
What is that?
If I'm not mistaken, now I'm going to have to look this up because the chairman's got his hands full. Normally, I just throw the randoms over at the chairman. But I believe Adam Wainwright has a symphony night, and Joe Buck is part of it. Can I crowdsource? No. But anyway, Wainwright doing like 10 or so games would make sense, but I don't know that that's even in the works.
Well, he does some national games, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I'm saying he probably has room for a handful of Cardinal games if he wanted to. February 22nd.
Wow.
Double play featuring Adam Wainwright at the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. Joe Buck, the narrator. So Wayno has an event, St. Louis Symphony, double play with music, with the symphony, Tim. The conductor is in there, and Joe's narrating. Anyway, I thought I'd made that up. It's true.
No, yeah, apparently
February 22nd.
Yeah. He's a talented guy for sure. I could see why he just wouldn't have time to do the Cardinal games. I kind of like the mix where they have several different guys in over the course of the year. I think that's fine. I like that.
I think it's hard for the play-by-play guy if you have too many in the rotation.
Yeah.
But, I think even when McCarver did it, he was kind of later in his years. He's a folksy guy. It was still kind of fun to see him every once in a while.
And I'd like to see Al Roboski back for a while, too.
Do some games, get in the booth.
Sure.
Well, I can't wait to hear from Jimmy Ball. Since he didn't, Tim, I guess it's the surprise guest vehicle. Maybe that's beneath him. But I'm looking forward to talking to Ballgame. In fact, a week from today, we'll be in Jupiter. This kind of felt like a Florida morning. Didn't a little crisp air?
Yeah, how nice is that?
It's supposed to get to 70 today?
Yes.
Can you believe that?
Because that's what you're supposed to do when you're live from spring training. You talk about how, it's a little chilly. It's 65 today. And everybody back here, it's 30 and snowing. And I don't know what the forecast here is, but spring training coverage begins in 1 week. Who will be the first guest?
Oh, gosh.
Cardinal Cowboy? I think it's a Cardinal Cowboy.
That would be a nice way to kick it off.
You can tune in next week as the Morning After broadcast from Cardinal Spring Training all week long. TMA live from Roger Dean Stadium with all the latest news and notes from Jupiter, Florida. Don't miss TMA live from Cardinal Spring Training all next week on 101 ESPN, brought to you by CarStar, your auto body repair experts. So that is next week, Monday through Friday. We will be returning to Jupiter, Florida, first time since 2020. TMA live at Cardinal Spring Training. Yeah, 2020, right before COVID started up, we were there bringing the heat. I remember sitting down with Jack Flaherty, who last night signed with the Tigers. And per the Detroit Free Press this morning, because Flaherty can impact Bregman, which can impact Arenado, but the Detroit Free Press says their sources with the Tigers say just because they signed Flaherty to a 2-year, $35 million deal does not mean that they are out on Bregman. So Bregman here on February 3rd, still unsigned. Arenado still a member of the Cardinals.
I got to say, it worked out for Flaherty. He gets $25 million this year. He can opt out $35 million over 2 years. It's a good sign if the Detroit Tigers, not exactly a big market, can pay a guy $25 million one season, while the Cardinals are looking to unload Arenado. I mean, the fact that Detroit can, all right, $25 million. I saw Flaherty tweet out last night, and it was Tupac wearing a Red Wings jersey. I was like, what is going on here? He was alluding to the fact he'd be going back to Detroit.
Detroit's going for it.
Yeah,
they've got some pitching.
And they traded him at the deadline thinking they were out of it last year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they end up in the ALDS, making it to a Game 5 in Cleveland. They're kind of a sleepy good team, I would say.
Well, maybe the Cardinals' big move is just right around the corner, fellas.
Waiting for the picnic table.
They're waiting for us to.
Season 2024, sitting this one out.
Apparently, they are going to sit it out.
Detroit Tigers are plus 3,500 to win the World Series. The Cardinals, for the record, Doug, plus 13,000. They're just in front of the A's.
Just unfair to the A's, because they're kind of going for it.
The Angels plus 20,000, Natitude plus 30,000, White Sox plus 50,000, Rockies plus 50,000, Marlins plus 50,000. Those are the 6 teams the Cardinals have shorter odds than.
Well, taking into account the division the Cardinals are in, would it stun you if they stayed in contention all year?
No.
With what they have, even without Arenado?
In the division.
Yeah.
Right. I agree with that.
That must be what they're thinking, is that if we're ever going to do a reset, now's the time to do it with the rest of the division down. And maybe we can hang close with what we got. That has to be the thought, right? The thought can't just be we got to save money at all costs.
So the new slogan is, if we could just hang around.
We can win this baby.
If we could just hang around.
T-shirt waiting to happen?
I think so.
We could win this baby. I think Cub fans are a little frustrated they haven't done more, and they keep talking about Bregman in Chicago. So if you're the Cardinals, Bregman to Chicago, that's a tough blow for a division opponent. But maybe it helps with the Arenado movement. I did hear Mozeliak talking to Tom Ackerman and said, well, not anything to report. And kind of said, we're back where we were. Like, it's unbelievable. I still wonder if the beginning of camp they let Arenado just stay home for a minute. I don't know. It's going to be really weird. Maybe it'll happen live on the air. Just doing a sit-down, in-depth
home. Arenado shows up and they go, no, go on home.
Just give an extra week of home workout.
Sharon in Sanibel / Clayton says, is that tweet to imply Flaherty is a gangster? What a tool. That's an insult to Pac. She is not happy, Doug, with Jack Flaherty's tweet, and also finds it to be insulting to Tupac. Your thoughts on Sharon and Sanibel / Clayton? Always good to have Sanibel on the side of Tupac.
She sure has been down there a while. That's a heck of a vacation she's on. We need to get on that program. Winter in Sanibel. That's fantastic. I do feel bad for Pac, though.
Do you feel bad for Pac?
Yeah, because he
got dragged into the free agent offseason.
Right. He didn't deserve it. Rest in peace.
Guys, just canceled my Apple MLS subscription. City is going to suck again. That's from the total package.
No.
We haven't been talking about it, but somebody wanted to share.
Oh, no, they're bad, too.
His job here against Tetsane had to get creative. Schmerman won't let it out of school. Tetsane trying to spin. Cristo looking good here. Robbie just pulling. Andras keeps his feet. Cristo peeling it back. Robbie! Oh!
What happened?
Sorry, that one kind of fell flat.
No idea.
A lot of build up.
That was a swing and a miss.
I guess someone scored.
It's impossible to know.
Moan. Yeah. I heard a guttural moan.
Was that Robbie Avila's one bucket the other night? That's what that was?
Oh, that was a cheap shot there.
I was just asking. Doug, have you brought out your MLS power rankings yet?
I always look forward to your February power rankings.
I usually wait another week or two. Leave the audience wanting more.
We are close to that season beginning. I'm going to see if there are any ML. Maybe Taylor Twellman's rolled out some power rankings. 2025 power ranking. Tim, have you released yours yet?
I do not release them, period. I canceled my MLS pass. I think I watched 2 games last year. I'll save the $100. That's from Hunchback of Von Castle. Like, how this topic came up is beyond me.
And we got people giving up on the soccer team 2 years in.
Doug, the Blues. I mean, let's not forget about the win against Utah, but I think that many people have officially moved on, considering the effort in Colorado on Friday night. And then in the Cardinals, not a lot of. I guess this is now all Missouri basketball, Illinois basketball, and that's what we got.
Well, the Blues now 7 points out of the playoffs, but man, if we can just get hot, fellas,
so you still are.
If we can just get hot, if we can just hang around, we can win this baby.
Maybe this break that's coming up will be just what they need.
Got a 6-game homestand wrapped around a 2-week Four Nations face-off. A lot of players are dropping out of that, I noticed.
It's crazy hearing how trash St. Louis fans can be. City had one bad season after having the best season, and now they suck? No, these fans suck. That's from the 636. And Doug, somehow, of all the topics,
this is the one that's got them going. This is the one
that people are worked up over. I didn't see it coming.
I love the poorly educated.
You can't give up on your team after 2 seasons, can you?
Or before the 3rd season starts.
I mean, haven't they?
You haven't released those power rankings.
No, not until a couple of weeks from now. But haven't they sold out darn near every game they've played, if not every one?
Yes. But also preseason, look at Mizzou. They're supposed to be 13th best in the SEC. What did we say? What were your predictions? I'm new here, but in that season, TMA season, would have been 19 going into. I think it would have been.
I think that's correct.
Going into City's first year, would you Lamos predict that? Did you see that
I predicted they would win the Western Conference, but bow out early in a playoff defeat to Kansas City.
Chairman Kurt catching hell. That was an ambush call, you dork. Go Doggies. That's from the Veiled Prophet.
I said it. I admitted it was a swing and a miss. If you want me to leave, I can step out.
No, you stay here.
Doug, that would be problematic, as none of us know how to run the board.
No, we don't have a clue.
I just want one morning to go smoothly here with me on this side of the dais. We had the headphone issue on Friday, camera issue today. I can't catch a break, Doug.
Oh, the camera situation has not been rectified.
No, and we had a little shoot, we'll fix that moment during the break. It did not succeed. So, like I said, our best people are on it, and we'll battle through.
How are people supposed to get ready for work if they can't see Tim?
Well, they won't be ready. That's all.
Nobody wants to have sex with me now.
And Kurt, by the way, that position where you are literally standing comes with taking shrapnel, so it's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I just want things to go smoothly, and when they don't, I feel it a little bit.
Drew said, if you're brave enough to unplug all 3 cords from the back and plug them back in, that's about all you can do. I'm hustling to get to you guys. It'll be at least 30 minutes before anyone gets in.
Oh, no.
Should we take a vote? Do you want me to go unplug them?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, hold on.
Okay.
Don't
Chairman's
unplug
going to go. So
wrong.
Unplug all 3 cords from the back of the cameras?
Back of the cameras.
Okay.
Drew, before I do that, can that happen?
This is on air.
Can that happen during the actual segment, or do I need to wait for a break?
Why don't you tell me what movie you want to see?
I would recommend texting him on the off chance he's not listening. Even though I know all of St. Louis is dialed in right now.
Drew is now the key to the 7 o'clock hour.
Almighty. Guys, I'm actually running late now for work because of this camera debacle. That's from former fan page moderator Neil Allen Craig Paquette.
I knew it caused
Work?
problems.
Martin, none of these people have a job. That's from Doug's prison wallet, and he monitors TMA social media for us. We appreciate it. No video of Tim. That's it. I'm out. See you guys next week. Go Doggies. Doug, you look sexy. See you on Valentine's Day. That's from the South City Hoosier aficionado.
Okay. If you're a Hoosier aficionado, does that mean you just know a Hoosier when you see one? Is that what that is?
It does make somebody, he studies the Hoosier community. I like that. The 314 says Jackson sabotaged it over the weekend.
Think he actually came into the studio and unplugged things?
It could have happened just to make himself look more important.
The dossier says all Luka Laker trade talk is embargoed until Jackson returns. Gosh, that would have been the update in the 7 o'clock hour,
I would
8 o'clock hour, 9 o'clock
Can't get to it now.
It's been embargoed by Jackson. He entered the dossier.
Nobody else can talk Doncic.
Look at this. So I see that Chairman Kurt has now it's back to this 3 and then the board on the YouTube chat. Now it's down to 2.
2 cameras.
Oh, the picture of Tim is just some plywood.
Yeah. What's going on? YouTube.com/TMASTL if you would like to see the plywood here on the program. It is TMA, and it's presented to you by Brown and Crouppen. We'll take a commercial break, come back with more here on 101 ESPN.
If you stop by your neighborhood Schnucks, you can't help but notice all of the items that are on sale. They've lowered pricing right now to over 2,300 items. Apples, chicken, potatoes, pizzas, you name it, lower prices. A lot of complaints right now about the expensive groceries. Schnucks here's you loud and clear. That's why they've lowered pricing. Over 2,300, which means there's something you're going to pick out. It has been marked down, whether it's Ore-Ida, potatoes, Jack's Pizzas, Tyson Family Chicken Packs. Jackson loves that Stoke cold brew coffee. That's at a lower price as well. They lowered the prices over 2,300 items. You'll see them throughout the store. Check out the digital shelf tags as well. Those are all around the store. Find tons more items, all with lower prices, trying to help you save money when you go to the grocery store. There's a neighborhood Schnucks near you. Now, everyday savings that you can count on, all of it at your neighborhood Schnucks. Lower prices every day on over 2,300 items.
This is a Sports Center update with Chairman Kerber, brought to you by Johnny Londoff, Johnny Londoff Chevrolet, and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues break their losing streak last night in Utah with a 2-1 victory. They'll be back in action tomorrow against the Oilers right here on 101 ESPN. Pregame at 6, and the puck drops at 7. This has been another Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
CMA 101 ESPN, Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, Chairman Kurt in for Jackson Burkett, who is ill. Doug, moment of truth here to see if the cameras are now working. I see Chairman Kurt is on.
None of them are on now.
It's all Chairman
Did we unplug too many cameras? We're down to one.
Jim Edmonds is going to be joining us coming up. This is going to be a quick segment, and then Jim Edmonds is going to be joining us, but we want to have a full, long runway for Edmonds coming up here on the program as the Cardinals and FanDuel Sports Network and Edmonds are parting ways. Other news here in the world of St. Louis sports, the Rams money, Martin.
Well, they resolved it. Good.
Nope. Friday's meltdown at the St. Louis Board of Aldermen reminds of city dysfunction, both past and present. This is from Jacob Kern in the St. Louis Business Journal. The abrupt ending of the meeting, which KSTK accurately described as, quote, chaos, might make it the most disreputable for the body since 2001, when an alderwoman peed into a trash can during a debate over redistricting. You remember that?
I do remember it, yeah.
And you were like, I'm proud. Call myself a St. Louis.
That's why St. Louis is thriving.
And it followed a series of more recent headlines for the continuously shrinking city. Number one, possible misallocation of grants at a development agency, St. Louis Development Corp., alleged corruption involving federal money in the building division, and the response to the January 5th/6th winter storm, which left residents iced in for many days and saw trash pile up for weeks. On Friday, the chair of the meeting, Aldermanic President Megan Green, abruptly recessed after it became clear her preferred plan for how to spend the Rams settlement money would not advance, and that a competing proposal from Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer just might. Green said she recessed because procedural motions from her opponents were being made to, quote, undermine what should have been a substantive debate. Green last month helped alter a compromise plan for the money backed by business group Greater St. Louis Inc. and Mayor Tashara Jones as millions of dollars for downtown St. Louis were moved in favor of housing and neighborhood development funds, plus child care subsidies for city workers. Schweitzer wants to put some money toward water infrastructure, then leave the rest to continue to accrue interest. Schweitzer and other aldermen called out in confusion as Green announced the recess until 10 a.m. tomorrow, with one opponent asserting that the move required the consent of at least a second lawmaker. Green responded saying it doesn't. Then, as she left the board's chamber with her staff, Green called out to Joe Vollmer, an alderman who agreed with Schweitzer, according to video captured by KSDK, quote, "You want to play games? Let's play games." Vollmer responded, "We're not playing games, we're playing politics." And then the drama continued. Schweitzer explained her action in part by referencing the new Trump administration's efforts to stop funding that the city depends on, and asserted it's, quote, prudent to see how this administration will affect us. Schweitzer said she didn't agree with Green's decision to recess, but that Schweitzer would be recognized as first to speak tomorrow and will look to advance her plan. Later, pressed by commenters for more details on her allegation, in which she said, ask the colleagues who you colluded with to leave the alcohol at home this time. She said the continued presence of alcohol would only lead to more rambunctious meetings. Megan Green had asserted that Joe Vollmer was, quote, visibly intoxicated, and that the alderman had alcohol flowing in a nearby room, and that it apparently was part of the reason for the circus on the floor. So she alleged that one of the aldermen was drinking.
She sure did, yeah. Didn't just
and then she deleted the post on social media. So, Martin, contrary to what we were hoping, Rams money still not determined, but allegations of drinking. She did later apologize for making that allegation.
Well, you put all of that together, maybe it's more embarrassing than the lady taking a leak. I mean, put it all together.
Might be.
Gosh, Super Bowl week, NFL's big week. They're laughing at us. They laughed on the way out of town. This is an embarrassment. I mean, how does that play out like that? First of all, Robert's Rules of Order, right? Everybody should kind of know what is protocol. It's one comedy after the next. I mean, and it's well stated. Jacob Kern, very plugged in, does a great job at the Business Journal, kind of sets the stage. This is in the aftermath of recent weeks. Snowplows apparently don't work. People are iced in. There's no trash pickup. All these embarrassment. And then you can't have adults debating, just a healthy debate over what we're going to do with the money that just arrived. Did it arrive, Doug, last week? Or was it 2 weeks ago that they got this money?
Several years ago, I believe.
Several years ago.
At least. And with a city that's facing so many problems, wouldn't you think it would be rather easy, so many obvious problems, rather easy to come up with a framework that you could help the important problems that you have? Is this really that difficult to do?
It's unbelievable. And
Jacob, I'm sorry.
No, I would just say it's unbelievable, but this has been going on for so long.
I know.
Jacob Kern is going to join us on the program tomorrow. He's been doing a great job covering this for the St. Louis Business Journal. James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency is online at carltoninsurance.net, 314-961-4800. That's James Carlton. He's my insurance agent. He has been my insurance agent for a number of years, actually 6 years, and I recommend him wholeheartedly. 410 five-star reviews on Google for James Carlton, and I recommend you make the switch. He will do all the paperwork for you, and you will be thrilled because he's going to go and do everything he can to save you money. That's James Carlton, sponsor of Gabe DeArmond here on TMA. Gabe will be with us in the 9 o'clock hour. Jim Edmonds joining us coming up next. Looking forward to the conversation with Jimmy Ballgame. That's next here on TMA.
And I just come to a conclusion. It was tough last year. I enjoyed the job, but last year I was kind of hemming and hawing around. And I don't know, this winter, I just told my wife a couple months ago, I said, I don't think I'm going to do it anymore. I think I'm done.
So
and
when you
say,
say,
well, just
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just wait it out a little bit. It's okay. She said, just wait it out a little bit and just, see how you feel. And I said, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. I can't imagine going to spring training. I started thinking about what Matt Holliday said when he was going to coach, and then he woke up one day and was like, man, spring training's 4 weeks away. I can't do it. That's kind of how I felt.
And what has changed with, like, your interest in going to spring training? Because that's something that you used to go down there not only to play, but from an instructor standpoint as well.
Well, that's kind of part of it, too. It's, it's not as much fun being around the stadium anymore. But as far as TV goes, like I said, a quick story is my boss called me the other day, and I didn't answer the phone, and I was like, man, I don't really know what to say to him. It's like I thought he was just going to call and say, hey, like, how's it going? And so I didn't really have, like, good news, and so I let the phone ring, and I didn't talk to him, and then I called him back the next day, and I said, hey, Larry, reason I didn't answer the phone yesterday was because I really didn't know what to say about this year, and I'm not really sure I'm going to come back, and I'm pretty much sure that I'm done working. And he goes, oh, well, I called to tell you that we don't know if we're going to have you back this year. And I said, oh, that is so awesome. You just made my decision for me. Thank you very much. Have a good day. That's what I said and hung up.
Oh, wow. So it was as mutual as it could possibly be then.
Yeah, it's pretty much perfect. And it made me really happy about my decision. I probably hung on maybe a year too long, but I don't really, my personality, I try to, like, really toe the line on being, me, I try not to do anything wrong. I try to just say the right thing, do the right thing, and I'm tired of that shit. I'm tired of doing all that.
Chairman, now can you dump out of it?
I'm tired of doing that for everybody. I'm tired of listening to the critics. I'm tired of guessing if I'm doing the right thing or not. And I just had enough. It's total chaos. People working every day. I don't know where they're supposed to be. Can't get mics to work. TV doesn't work. Replays don't work. The game is so fast right now. You don't even have time to talk. They don't need two people in the booth. It's just commercial after commercial. It's commercial. I mean, it's not the same anymore, and it's definitely took a toll on just the fun part of it. So, that goes to that story right there. That's basically all that needs to be said. And spring training, I haven't gone really down to spring training the last couple of years. It's just not it's not fun anymore. The baseball is, they don't make you feel like you're wanted. Be around the stadium. I love Ollie, the DeWitts. I have so much respect for Mo. Everybody's great, but somehow indoors in the inner circle, it's just not the same. It's not the same organization. It's not fun to be around. They make it pretty obvious. Even the security guards, like, hey, it might not be a good time. I'm like, fine with me. I don't need to be in there. If you don't want me to tell your pitchers that they're tipping their pitches or this guy's pulling off, then I don't really give two shits about it. So I'm gonna take my talents out here to Tennessee and learn how to be a gardener and a farmer.
So when you say it's not as fun as it used to be, and you clearly have some frustration with the organization, what is it? Because from a fan standpoint, from a listener standpoint, we're on the outside looking in. You know what it was like to play. You also know what it was like to be an alumnus of the organization. You know what it's like to be a coach, as an instructor with the organization. What has changed? Because I can tell you a lot of fans also are frustrated right now, Jim.
Well, let me ask you this. You know a lot about this sport. When's the last time you've seen a Hall of Famer in the dugout in spring training?
I can't think of a time. Doug, Martin, you got anything?
McGuire, maybe? No, he's not in the Hall of Fame, is he?
No, I just mean like even guys with Carpenter and myself, and other than really Izzy being a coach and Ludwig, they just don't invite us down there anymore. It's a total different atmosphere, and it kind of makes you feel like you're not appreciated, not wanted, don't need your help. And like I said, I have the utmost respect for the people, but something's different as a whole. And I know the players feel it, the alumni feels it, and it's just different. It's just not as much fun.
So is it a case the organization doesn't want you guys around, or do you guys not want to be around the organization, Jim?
No, I don't know what it is. It's just after COVID, it's just like went dead silent, crickets. It's like you get an email saying, hey, opening day's around the corner. Don't forget to put your day on the calendar, and, we'll give you an email. And other than that, it's like, see you at the Hall of Fame ceremony.
Now, the last two managers were not Major League players. Do you think maybe they're intimidated by Hall of Famers hanging around?
No, not at all. I spent a lot of time with Ollie on and off the field. I love Ollie. And Mike Schilt was amazing. It's just the atmosphere as far as you can just feel the tension when you walk around. Like, the guys are kind of like, they're different. The players are obviously different. The game has completely changed. You walk through the clubhouse, you can see, like, the clubhouse guys are really busy. They don't have time. No one has time to talk. Like, you kind of sit down and you're like, hey, how's it going? And like, it's just kind of like, I feel like I'm walking into, your studio and sitting on the outside of your studio talking to people I don't know yet to get in to talk to you. And it's like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just a different atmosphere now. And it definitely is. We're definitely aware as a group that we're not really wanted around there anymore.
So it used to be more expressed. Hey, can you come down the third week of February, the first week of March? There used to be more of an invite specific to former players.
Oh yeah. And then when I played, those guys were Brock, Gibson, Stan, all those guys were in the clubhouse every day. You would see somebody. Ozzy. Those guys are so much fun to be around. And there's so much to learn from past experiences and past players, and it's just like crickets now. So I went dry on that a couple of years ago. I gave up, and the TV thing is kind of like when you go down there for spring training. I don't know how some of these guys do it, like the travel and stuff, the way they run the schedules, and I don't know how Jimmy Hayes and like Alexa and stuff put up with, fly to New York and then fly home, and then let the team will go to Cincinnati, and then Jim's got to go to Cincinnati, and Alexa's got to fly home, and instead of just staying on the team plane and riding out the thing, it's the TV situation with the travel and all that. That's tough too, and so it just kind of hit ahead, and I just had enough. I just had enough of being me. I just don't want to be me anymore, the baseball person. I just want to be a dad.
If you were friends with Ollie, could you say to him, hey, Ollie, I'd love to come around. Holiday'd love to come. And I know he's friends with Holiday. Couldn't you go directly to him?
They know that. We tell them that all the time. And it's not all. I don't think it's Ollie's decision. And to Ollie's defense, too, once they, I remember once you get in the clubhouse, and it's like, Timmy, how it is. It's like doors closed, the outside world is gone. and now you kind of have to focus on your day, and it goes by really quick. And being the manager, it goes by even faster. There's media and lineups and meetings, and it's just nonstop in there. So sometimes you almost need to go in there and catch your breath. You have to walk outside because there's so much going on inside the clubhouse for the players and the coaches.
So where do you direct the blame for what has changed?
I don't know. The culture, the atmosphere. What's funny is like the COVID thing, I think, is where it almost makes me feel like the COVID thing was the perfect excuse to just cut the ties with all the extra crap. You know how they say cut the fat? And basically that's what Mo said to a couple of us when we were working as his assistants. Basically cut the fat, and it just continued. And it's just like ever since then it's been, if you see each other in the hallway, it's like, hey, how you doing? How's the family? And then see you next month. It's just weird.
Do you think not having a very competitive team the last couple of years has added to that too?
I would think that would make it the opposite. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you think that there would be other guys that maybe could help, that maybe the certain eyeballs aren't seeing certain things, or are you so ingrained in what you're doing that you don't think you need any help? I don't really know how that works. I know for a fact that there's a guy I won't name, but he plays third base, asked if Mark McGuire could come to spring training, and they said, no, we have everything we need. So I really don't understand some of that.
So I have an obligation to follow up, even though I realize you're intentionally speaking coded-wise. It sounds like that would be Nolan Arenado was interested.
Yeah, I can't say his name, but he plays third base, and he was born in Newport Beach.
Okay, Doug, that would narrow it down.
I'm going to need one more hint.
He wanted Mark McGuire to come to spring training, and what was the response?
I heard that he asked, and they kind of just said, we don't need him. We have everything that we need. Thank you. And that was a couple years ago, so it's not just something new. And like I said, I don't know there's no blame. I just think the culture has changed. I really do. I think that, you watch all these sports, everything has changed. You watch football, it's like, wow, the guy hit him with the shoulder in the chest, and he gets thrown out of the game. I mean, like, baseball, the same thing. It's like everything is just changing, and it's just I think it's funny when you like listen to podcasts and stuff, and they talk about how like this era of sports and this era of this are a bunch of babies. Like, it's just like you got to baby everybody now, and like don't ruffle anybody's feathers. I'm like, screw that. Like, if you're losing, you better get in somebody's face, and that's kind of like the personality that I got forced onto with La Russa, and I have a hard time changing that.
Well, wasn't Chris Carpenter one of the ones let go during the COVID layoffs, and does he still work for the Angels?
I don't know if he does work for the Angels still, but I know that he did do that, and I think I almost followed him there because obviously, one, I played for them, but when they've had a lot of guys run through there that I still remain close with Madden, and Phil Nevin was there, and some of their hitting coach I know. And just the organization in general, people were still kind of around there. But yeah, he silently went and worked for the Angels and went to spring training and stuff, and no one really made a big deal out of it. But he said he enjoyed it. He enjoys. I think Chris is over the top smart. He's a baseball savant, and if you would to sit down and listen to him for 5 minutes, you'd learn a lot. Like, he would be a good person to sit down and talk with every day. If I was a pitcher, I'd be up his butt trying to figure out how to get better.
Do you think you'll ever get back with the Cardinal organization in any capacity, or do you feel like you're done with them now?
I don't know. I don't really. I think I'm done. I think like I said, I don't want to be, one of those guys that just hangs around the clubhouse or hangs around the stadium and signs autographs for the rest of my life. My kids are overwhelmingly more important by the day, and my marriage is so important to me now, and going through what I've gone through has been awful, and still going through some difficult times with custody and stuff. I mean, the law, gosh, I can't even imagine being a normal person going through a divorce with the law system that we have. Is completely corrupt and ridiculous, and just to battle and not get anything done, just trying to get a custody change for a year and a half with not being able to even see a judge. my life is getting shorter and shorter, and I just don't really have the time to miss these days with the kids anymore.
When you said critics earlier, were you talking about like online, people didn't like your broadcasting, or things you were told directly from bosses or Cardinals? Who specifically when you mentioned the critics?
Well, I'm just talking in general, like being in the limelight, you always got to be careful what you say. I mean, my bosses never said a word to me about anything. So I just kind of got thrown to the wolves with the TV stuff. Here you go, sit here and talk. You don't need any notes, just tell us what you see. And that was kind of weird. And that's kind of how that went for the longest time. And so I was winging it. I had no clue what I was doing. I had no teaching. I had no skills. I had no background in any kind of thing other than I played. And I just think it's funny because somebody sent me a thing yesterday and said that they were tired of listening to my self-promotion. I'm like, I don't have anything to promote. I don't know what. Like, I'm tired of people trying to guess what kind of personality I have. And that's kind of the other thing. Like, I mean, like I was saying to you on the phone yesterday, I'm tired of that crap. I'm tired of listening to people say, oh, he's this and he's that. You don't know shit about me. You don't know nothing about me. You don't know nothing about what I've been through. You don't know anything about anybody's been through. So the online stuff is just so ridiculous. These fat people sitting at home writing on their blogs who this person is and who that person is, never stepped outside to play sports. I had enough. I had enough of all of it. So specific to what you're talking about right now, and I think it ties into how we started the conversation, Jim, as Jim Edmonds is our guest here on TMA 101 ESPN, is you on your tractor in Tennessee. Part of being on the tractor in Tennessee is to get away from not necessarily the life, because you're obviously grateful for what you were able to accomplish and therefore experience with wealth, but having people judge you when you know that they don't necessarily know who you are. And when you're in Tennessee, you're not dealing with that. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. I kind of feel bad for my kids. Like, Landon goes and plays baseball at a little school in South Missouri, and the kids are just screaming and yelling at him just because his last name's on his jersey. I've had enough of that. He doesn't deserve that. I was talking to Andrew Jones one day, and his kid was going through the same stuff, and kids are screaming and yelling at him just because he's Andrew Jones's kid, and it's like, what's the point? Like, what are we doing here? Like, these kids are so brutal nowadays, and nobody takes control, and like, the whole thing is just disgusting to watch. And like I said, I just had enough. I just woke up one day and had enough of being in this situation. And my wife's been begging me to buy a little place in Tennessee for like 3 years, and I'm about 3 years too late. So now the prices are going up and things are good, but we're happy here. We're here part of the time, and when we get here, it's really refreshing. And we spend still half our time in St. Louis and go back and forth, but it's a more quiet approach when we're back there now.
Well, you had such a fantastic career and had so many people that truly appreciate of what you did on the field. I hope you're not leaving here with a bitter taste in your mouth completely.
Oh no, I'm not bitter at all. I'm happy. I'm thankful. I'm just, I woke up one day and I was like, it's time to move on. It's time to enjoy my life. I think my wife read something about 6 months ago, and it said, when you're 50 years old, your average expectancy to live is only 23 more years, average. And that I was like, whoa, never thought about that. And so that started kind of the wheels spinning, like, hey, I haven't done anything for me. I haven't been to places of Greece and all these different places that I've been wanting to go to. And, I'm only getting to spend, like, it's so funny because, the baseball season is the baseball season. So when Landon's playing, I'm working. And so he's a senior now, and I backed way off the last couple of years so I can be around, but still missed a bunch. So this year I don't plan on missing a whole lot. And that's just kind of what my priority had just changed. Like I said, I woke up, one day a couple months ago, and I said, I think I'm done. I think I've had enough. And I'm really happy with the decision. I'm glad that they kind of were hoping that maybe I didn't want to come back to work either. I don't know where any of that came from. like I said, they don't tell you anything. It's like walking around there with your eyes closed, trying to figure out where you're supposed to be each day. But, I'm happy. I love you guys. I love what I did. I love the fans, but it's time to move on, I think.
What's a typical TV timeline? It feels late to me in the year to be deciding that. When would you normally know if you're part of the broadcast?
Right around now. They would just call and say, hey, let me know when you want to go to spring training. And last year I was like, I don't.
But to be fair, you said that you would say that as a player, Jim.
Yeah, probably. But no, we get a call in January 29th, and they say, well, hey, we got you down for games February 20th and 21st or whatever. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay, thank you. So it's just kind of like that, too. I've had enough. And to be honest with you, I did. I was like, I just don't really want to go to spring training. Sorry. And then I think last year maybe something came up with the family where I couldn't go. But there was no way I was going this year. And like I said, I just woke up one day and had enough.
Will you be at opening day?
That is to be determined. And as of right now, I don't know.
When you talk with some of your former teammates and part of world championship teams, pennant-winning teams, and a bunch of guys who are Cardinal Hall of Famers, do they share your same sentiment for where the organization is right now, Jim?
I don't really I talk to guys, but that never really comes up. I think when I talk to guys that I've played with, it's more or less like just in passing and how's the family, or you see them on social media once in a while and something makes you laugh and you give them a call, or, you get a random text message from Frankie every now and then. He's like, hey, I'm playing golf with your buddy, or, you get more of those kind of interactions than you do. It's like nobody really talks about what goes on the baseball field other than when you're say at a reunion or at opening day. And, I love it. Sitting next to Mark McGwire last couple of years at the Hall of Fame ceremony, it's awesome to catch up with these guys. You see them. Fun. I learned, a carpenter lives in Texas now, and he lives on a little bit of land. I think he said he's got cows, and who would have known? These guys, everybody's got their own thing going on, and it's kind of cool to see that people have just changed directions in their lives and moved on.
I think people are finding this surprising because the Cardinal organization is so into nostalgia, so celebrate the past so often, especially with former players. Organizationally, things are changing. Chaim Bloom's going to be taking over. Mo's going to be either leaving or going into a different role. How do you address this as alumni? Is there some voice that goes to Bill the Third or Bill Jr. and says, listen, there's a drop-off here from the way it used to be. We love this organization. Will somebody be able to take that mission on and maybe try and fix this?
Done it. I've done it. Nobody cares. So I just kind of, like I said, I washed my hands of it.
I'm not
going to beg to go.
Can I ask who you talked to?
The locker room. Everybody. Let me put it this way: from the top to the bottom.
So
all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom. Everybody knows. So, like I said, I'm not down on the organization. It's just not the organization that I played for with the people and the history in your face every day. And I thought that was pretty cool. I'd love to be in there and sit down and walk into the clubhouse one day, and there's Bob Gibson. And I think, Timmy, I told you this story one time, and I walked in to say hi, and I had to ask Tony La Russa something, and then Gibson was in there, and I said, hey, Mr. Gibson, would you mind signing this bobblehead for me? It's for a friend of mine. He goes, would you mind getting some hits, please?
That's a fair trade.
I was like, all right. I'll come back. And he goes, no, come back in here. I'll sign it. But, that's the stuff, you don't get that, that just is special. And listening to those guys talk in the dugout, God rest all their souls, was amazing. And it's sad that they're gone and everybody's moved on.
Has that kind of culture and atmosphere changed just with the Cardinals, or is it all over baseball, do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know. I know some guys still go to spring training here and there, but I don't really pay attention to it anymore. I don't watch it. I kind of removed myself from it a couple years ago. I tried to pay attention to what my job was as far as TV. And when I'm not doing TV, I'm trying to take care of my family. That's basically as simple as life can get. And that's my life right now. Trying to keep, everybody in the right direction with a 18-year-old and a 16-year-old and, 8 and 6. And so I love having them around. I love taking them to Tennessee. It's hilarious to watch the boys play on the tractor. And I got my son. He's 6 years old, and he's learning how to drive our four-wheeler, our side-by-side. And he was helping me pull logs out of the river the other day by literally driving the side-by-side with the winch. And that kind of stuff is priceless to me now. And can't do that in St. Louis as far as without, driving down to somewhere and putting it all together. But those kind of things are what I needed to do when wanted to change for my family.
I will say this for people who enjoyed your broadcast or people who didn't like your broadcast. The one thing I would say about you is you've never tried to fake anybody. Like, you're always just yourself. And people made fun of you for reading your text, but that was you. I mean, hey, Landon text. I mean, I thought it was hilarious. Hey, I just got a text from Matt Holly. Personally, I got a kick out of that. Of course, it gives people fodder, but do you feel you've ever been anything but yourself? Whether it pisses people off or not, you're just yourself.
No, that's it. That was me. The thing for me is when I watch games, I can't stand to listen to people talk. I want to watch the game. I don't need to know that the 1-0 pitch is coming, the 2-0 pitch is coming, the 2-1 pitch is coming, and who the general manager for the teams we're playing in 3 weeks from now, and what this guy did in 2004. And it's just like I want to watch the game. And so I felt like when I was doing the game, people wanted to watch the game. And if there's something funny or something interesting, it's not just like, okay, here comes the 2-1. I feel like I'm Jack Buck on the radio. That's what I'm listening to every day. Like, he's so perfectly, you got to be pitch by pitch on the radio. And I'm like, this is TV. You can see the replay. Like, what am I supposed to say? And that's what I was saying now. The game is so fast now. It's almost like Chip could do the game by himself. And as a matter of fact, last year, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, last year, Landon was down in Atlanta, and the very first night he got there, the family he was staying with for summer ball, the house burnt down. And I don't know if you remember this, Tim, but I left, and Chip did the game on a Sunday afternoon in
Houston, wasn't it?
Houston. Yeah, Houston by himself. And I'm like, how was it? He goes, it was fine. I'm like, I figured, it's like, but we can't, that took some of the fun out of it, too. I'm like, hey, can we show that replay? Sorry, we don't have time. Or, hey, can we dial back on a couple of those fastballs or that last hitter? No, we can't. We can't go back and just grab the fastballs. We got to watch the whole thing. So even that kind of stuff wasn't, like, up to par as far as what I thought I was going to be able to do, or diagram stuff on a TV, or, that's like, I got to ask like a month in advance. And, hey, we got to really put this together. And, hey, the technology for me in the TV world, too, was kind of not as up to date as, they can do games from anywhere in the world, but I can't get a replay on a slider in the third inning, to a certain hitter because they have to go. It's just not able to be cut that fast. And so that was kind of weird to me. And like I said, Chip could do the game by himself now, because if there's 1 second that they can relax, there's got to be a commercial. And so, or the pitch is coming. It's hard. It's like you're sitting there. I'm sitting there going, dang, will I say something or not say something? Or so that kind of is weird too, to be a second guy in there. And like I said, I can't stand watching some of the broadcasts when they're just reading information on players and managers because they don't know, like especially the broadcasts that are like ESPN broadcasts and the Fox broadcasts, because they don't know anyone. And so they're just reading notes. And so the first thing I was told was, don't read the notes. And so I'm not reading the notes. I'm telling you what's going on. And you can see what's going on. So what am I supposed to say? And that's kind of how I felt. So if you didn't like that, then I'm sorry. I thought it was funny that certain people were texting me and about the game. And, I would have think that fans would love the fact that Izzy's watching or Carpenter's watching or, and I always thought that giving someone like an experience like, hey, this situation just happened. And it's funny because 2 days ago, even in high school, this goes on. It's just like, it's the real world. And not just sitting there saying, like I said, here comes the pitch. It's just, give me a break.
Here comes the text. I liked it. I personally enjoyed that.
Well, that's why I did it for you, Doug.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
So, as you can imagine, Jim, a lot of people are intrigued by what you are saying here this morning. I mean, our text inbox is going crazy, and I would say it's about 90% approval because people appreciate the candor. I remember you would always say, even though the 2006 team won the World Series, the 2004 team was still hailed as one of the greatest teams that Cardinal fans have seen. Even people who are in their 60s and 70s still talk about the 2004 team. The 2000 team is the one that you would always talk about as being the most fun you had. Eric Davis, Will Clark, Young and Keel. I mean, it was just Morris, Kyle. It was entertaining. I was certainly the butt of many jokes in that clubhouse. It was good entertainment. So if there are things or a thing that you would say to Cardinal fans or to the organization, this is what you need to do to get back to what it was, because Bill DeWitt owned the team then, he owns the team now. What would that thing or things be?
I think that's kind of my point right now is I'm done with that. I don't know. I don't even want, I can't even address it. I don't need to. I don't want to. I have no desire. Just like I said, I woke up one day and had enough. I've said what I can say. Like I've asked, I've poked and prodded, and even the TV and in the clubhouse, and it just kind of, it is what it is. So, like, I woke up one day and that was it. You know, I've had enough. And then just, and no bad feelings, no nothing. It's just the personality my personality. When it gets to the point where I'm shutting off, I'm shutting off. And I got to that point.
Jim, you referenced Nolan Arenado earlier, obviously a player that you know in the story, although I should say third baseman from Huntington Beach. It was not Arenado. Newport Beach. Sorry.
He was born in Newport. Let's just get that right.
All right, let's get that. I'm sorry. Well, you called me Doug. I don't know. Let's get it right now. But I sense from him that he thought he was coming to a different organization. And I shouldn't say from him. I've gotten the sense that there's a little bit of there, and it's a weird offseason. You got a superstar player that they are admittedly trying to trade. His agent is saying he wants to go somewhere where they've got, the hammer down, the throttle down, that's trying to win. They're trying to accommodate him by trading him. Is it all sort of related, do you think, to what's going on with organizationally, with a player like that says, I want out?
Yeah, I think, I think Nolan, that's another thing you guys talk about. Like, it was funny having all these guys hitting in my basement on a daily basis, and I'm not allowed. Shouldn't say anything like Nolan Arenado's hitting in your basement because he's trying to get better, because he doesn't feel like he's getting where he needs to be. But I don't know. Didn't he turn down a trade to Houston?
Yes.
Oh man, if I was a hitter, I would be. I would be in the car driving myself down to Houston if I could go play in that ballpark. I think the thing, too, is that ballpark's really tough to hit in. And I think for, like, Goldie, the way he hits the ball the other way, and that kind of hurt him a lot. I think he's going to tear up New York if he has an opportunity to play every day. And same for Nolan. I think, he has a lot of power, but he's not a home run hitter, and that park hurts him. And it hurts a lot of those guys, and I think that's part of the reason why they struggle a little bit offensively is none of those guys are like Mark McGwire's or Albert Pujols, right? They're like me, like line drive, a little bit of home run hitters, and when the ball doesn't carry, it doesn't work. But, yeah, I don't know if Nolan, thinks that the organization should be different, or I think he just is so, like my point at the beginning is he's so fiery and he wants to win so bad. When you have a guy like that, you can't tone it down. You can't turn the volume down on him. He wants to win, and he wants to be the best he can be. And if you can't accommodate that, or it doesn't seem like that's your intentions as an organization, then he's going to want to go somewhere else. I didn't know that he asked to be traded. I've never really talked to him about that. I just talked to him about, on and off the field as far as him and I go. But that's kind of where I would be. I mean, you want to win. It's fun to make money, but when it comes down to it, you're a competitor, and you're born to do this job at the highest level. And when you're getting kind of mediocre results, it's frustrating.
Jim Edmonds, our guest here on TMA, and he is communicating very candidly a number of thoughts ranging from the Cardinals to off-the-field life. Do you feel like that your, whether it be conduct, behavior, do you feel like that has been accurately represented through the media, or do you feel like the public has a different perception of who you actually are?
I don't really know. I don't really even know what my conduct would be, to be honest with you. I don't, you know me, I don't really care about that. Don't even get me started with the Post-Dispatch. Like, their creations that they make, and what a joke that is. I haven't spoken to them in 4 years since they printed my address in the paper. But that's for another time, I guess.
Why was your address in the paper?
I was going through some stuff with Frontenac, and apparently, like, they got the word out that they were, like, not suing me, but give me a violation. And I don't know, somebody at the Post-Dispatch thought that would be really cute to talk about and print in paper. And they were willing to, like, almost, I don't know if they put my address in the paper, and I think they did, or my street. And so I called up it was online, and I called up the sports director, or whoever was in charge, and I said, hey, listen, I don't appreciate you guys putting my address in the paper online. I said, you get somebody to take it down. And he said, I'll see what I can do. And he called me back, and he said, hey, our editor said that they can't do that. And I said, well, I can tell you this. If you don't, I will never speak to you guys again. Well, guess what? I haven't spoken to them in 4 years. So I think it's funny when some guys will text me. I'm like, hey, this is so-and-so from the Post-Dispatch. I'm like, good for you. Good luck.
I'll say in defense of the sports people, I've experienced this on the TV side. It could be the news people versus the sports people. I'm just saying that there is a distinction.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
It's 100%.
To be fair,
when I'm saying,
right.
Here's Jim Edmonds saying, please take my address off your paper, you would think someone would be like, hey, this guy's saying he's not going to speak with us anymore, and he's kind of an important part of this organization. Let's maybe think about this. And they didn't care, so I won't speak to them ever again. But I just still think it's funny that a lot of guys don't remember, so I'll get a text here and there and like, hey, could you have a minute? And I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah, and it has to be uncomfortable that half of St. Louis is fascinated by your house. Seeing pictures of it for sale.
Well, yeah, I mean, that thing, it's something that my wife and I really don't want to do. But, Landon's about ready to go to college, and we felt it was time to kind of downsize and buy something out here to get away. And so, yeah, it's actually one of the tougher things I've had to do is to put that up for sale. I'm kind of like hoping it doesn't sell and hoping it does at the same time. kind of hard to explain.
And then you will live full time in Tennessee?
No, I will buy something small in St. Louis until the kids are done with school. Either that, or I can until I get the kids to come stay with me full time in Tennessee. Whatever one can happen first. But like I said, the family court system is one that could be upgraded with the utmost urgency, and it's a joke. So trying to just get someone to sign a piece of paper takes a year.
Is this cathartic for you? Kind of, there's a lot on the table here, a lot of that we've gone over. Do you feel better? I mean, it feels a little therapeutic.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm sitting out here watching the sun come up over the trees and the tractor, and there's nothing but birds and no one to worry about, and no one to talk to, and no one to discuss baseball or divorce or kids or anything. It's awesome. My wife and I are having the times of our life right now, and even if it's only part-time when we get out here, it's pretty awesome.
Well, we may call you during the baseball season just to talk farming, if that's okay.
I'm going to say, I hope you don't have any baseball questions. I will not be watching.
You will not be watching. I was going to ask that. Are you planning on watching at all?
I don't even watch when I'm not working, right? Like, I got to that point, when I'm not at the stadium. Well, when I'm not at the stadium, I'm not watching baseball. So, I really, the last couple of years, it really started to run its course, and I studied my ass off before I went back to work every day, and I kind of caught up on some highlights and stuff and paid attention to what guys were doing, but I couldn't really sit down and watch day to day, just with my family and the moving parts that we have, it just wasn't possible to do. And, it's time zones change and different times kids are going to bed, and that stuff was just kind of what took over my life. So, I didn't really have the day-to-day knowledge of, every single play that happened. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be way worse now than it ever was.
Oh, well, maybe you aren't aware of this then. Good news. Jason Stark is of the opinion that when you are up on those committees, you are going to be going into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Whoa, because of this interview?
Yeah. The interview is going to put me over the top.
Does that mean anything to you?
No, I don't know. I don't know anything about how that works. I don't know about what the timing would be. I don't feel like that's another aspect of my life I feel like I got kind of shorted with. And I've kind of just been at ease with it not ever happening. So I'll be shocked if it ever does. I'll be shocked if I ever get on another vote. I don't know how that works. So
it's committees.
I'm not holding my breath.
It's committees.
Yeah. I just think I don't know how they do that. So I'm not holding my breath with that at all.
Right.
Come here.
It sounds like you're talking to some kind of farm animal.
Yeah, a goat, sheep.
It's my dog.
Oh.
It's the dog. My wife just let him out to go to the bathroom, and I'm standing outside.
God, could you put this all on reality TV, please? This has got a
Jim, you had a great time with reality TV. Would you like to go back?
Okay, I take it back.
That's a bunch of bullshit too. Reality TV. What a joke.
I think, actually, I'm going to say, I think some of it's my fault, Tim. When we used to have Jimmy on the radio back in the day, I said, how about we do a show called The Real House Husbands of West County? I used to joke that there was a show that next thing I knew, Jim was actually on reality TV. But now, in hindsight, I regret the Tennessee observation. Never mind. I scratched that from the record.
Yeah, that's not coming to Tennessee, but that couldn't be any farther from reality than anything in this world is reality TV. It is the biggest joke and the biggest farce that anybody's ever seen. And if you do watch it, you notice that every single show is exactly the same, no matter what channel it's on. So that's another thing I can't even watch anymore either.
The magic of the editing is a phenomenon.
Oh, God. You know what's funny? I was doing it one day, and I was sitting there watching my ex work, and I was talking to one of the camera guys, and I said, God, long days, huh? He goes, oh, this is great. He said, I used to sit in an editing room and for 8 hours wait for one of so-and-so, like Terry DeBro, to roll his eyes so I could cut and paste it and hand it to them so they could implement it wherever they wanted to during the course of the show.
Nice.
I'm like, seriously? And that's when I learned, oh, this isn't reality anymore. This is just a scripted setup.
Yeah, just TV. That's all it is, TV show.
There's always a producer, and you say, and at the end of the segment, like, okay, Jim, is there any way you could, like, fall down the steps? Is there any way you could spill your coffee? You just need something. And my wife said I ruined reality TV for her because I always say, oh, that was a producer's idea. They didn't really mean to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny because if you ever really watch it, like, you'll see a party, and then people are talking, and in the background people are walking into the party, there's no one there, and then the next scene, it'll be totally packed, and there'll be like a full party going on, and then the next thing, there'll be people walking in again, there's nobody there again, and you're like, wait, what happened there? Where'd all the people just go? And it's just like, they just cut and paste everything, and it's just like, okay, now I get it. It took me a few years to understand what was going on, but kind of at the end, I'm like, okay, now I can't even begin to turn it on. You should tell her that it's really not real. It's not reality TV. It's scripted TV.
And all this frustration has driven you right into farming.
That's what it takes.
Yeah, and my wife just walked outside, and we got, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, they call them barn cats.
Doug, barn cats.
Feral, they kind of just run all over the place.
Keep the mice and the rats away.
Yeah, there you go. Keep the mice and animals out of the barn. And so we went and got, somebody called us from the adoption agency for the animals, and we adopted these barn cats that were out in the wild. They had never been indoors or anything. They were born on a farm somewhere, and I guess that the people brought them to the adoption agency, and it was like 5 of them, and someone took 2 of them, and there were 2 girls and 3 boys. And so we brought the 3 boy cats with us, and we've had them for a month now. And my wife's walking into the barn right now, creeping in there because she doesn't want them to run away because they're completely feral, which means completely wild. And we've been feeding them now for about 3 weeks, and now they just like crawl all over my wife and love her. But when I walk in, they run from me. So they're really not keen on the dad idea yet. It's just all about mom.
Tim, I'm an idea guy, and it doesn't mean they're all good ideas, but for a couple of years, we did opening day live from Jim Edmonds.
That's right.
Which is always a great idea to wake up the All-Star center fielder at like 6 a.m. to run some cable from the kitchen.
They love that. They love that kind
by the way.
What's that, Jim?
That was funny.
It was great. I remember that, 2006. I mean, you won a World Series that year, so,
wow, it's true.
Well, then there's no reason for you to come out here anymore because we're not winning anything.
Oh, no.
I think we got a new marketing slogan to pair with Joe Buck's.
I was going to suggest we could do opening day live from the farm, just to kind of a little alt cast kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be probably a lot better because I don't have to worry about anything that I say anymore. So it'd be more fun.
That has been made crystal clear. Well, we've enjoyed the conversation. I know the vast majority of the people listening find the candor incredibly refreshing. I think that's what they also enjoyed about having you on the Cardinal broadcast. So we've really appreciated
self-promotion.
What's that? Although self-promotion. Part of the deal with being in the public eye is getting your ass lit up. You've just experienced it on a. When we'd be sitting down like in Jupiter and people would come up to Edmonds, it would be not because of his time as a baseball player, it'd be because of the Real Housewives thing. That's what they would recognize him from. And I'd be like, wow, these like 50-year-old women are really into Cardinal baseball. No. They're Palm Beach residents and they know him from Bravo, And I'd be like, God, you know what I'm talking about.
I still get that even here. There is, the women love their reality TV and good for. I think it's awesome for them, but I hate to tell them that it's not reality. But I still get people say that. I said, shh, don't say that around my wife. She might get over here and slap you. But
ruin the whole thing.
Life is a great experience. It really is, good and bad, and you learn a lot from it. But I've learned that it's my turn to step away. So, like I said, I'm out here part time and enjoying my life, and I think we have like 3 neighbors within a mile of us, if not more. So it's really refreshing.
Jim Edmonds, our guest here on TMA, giving us his perspective on a wide variety of topics. Jim, we appreciate the time this morning, and we'll look forward to talking again soon.
I appreciate it. Nice to. It's been a while. No commercial breaks. I'm impressed. You better get to work.
I got him in early. It was strategic.
Biggest issue is I've got to pee. Just sharing. This seems to be a very cathartic segment. We're all sharing.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, guys. See you later.
Thanks, Jim.
That's Jim Edmonds with us here on the program. And certainly, with regards to what the Cardinals had to say, I think we reach out and allow them to counter anything that he said with regard to the Post-Dispatch, allow them to counter anything that he said. Those are his views. Those are not our views. And so the right thing to do is to reach out to the Post-Dispatch and the Cardinals, because he had a lot to say regarding both, and see if they would like to counter any of that. But clearly, he wasn't holding anything back this morning.
No, and you can certainly see where he's coming from. I mean, he had a brilliant career. He made all the money you could possibly want. He did the TV thing because he thought it was fun. It sounds like it turned out to be a little bit more frustrating than what he thought it was going to be. And at this point in his life, with kids who need a dad at home, he's just had enough.
He's lived his life in the public eye as an athlete, and then you get into the reality TV. Like you mentioned, that's a whole nother layer of fandom. Everybody kind of knows your business. I think the text line has been pretty supportive. They enjoy the honesty. I think for a lot of the fans, they're probably selfish. They don't care about his life. They care about the Cardinal organization. So I think that stuff hits hard for a lot of the baseball fans that are saying, what's going on down there? If the veterans don't feel welcome, if Arenado's suggesting we bring a Mark McGwire and they say, no, we don't need that. I think the organizational disappointment that he has, I think, is what stands out to most people.
Absolutely.
Because people that don't like Jim, this interview is not going to change their opinion. People that like him, this interview's not going to change their opinion, I don't think.
So I think what you can have happen, and it's perhaps most impactful in the world of politics, is if that which people theorize is proven to be true by somebody either themselves or a primary source. And so over the last handful of years, a large number of Cardinal fans have theorized something isn't right. And then you have a Cardinal Hall of Famer who, per Jason Stark, I think will wind up in the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's just going to be via committee, who has been tied to the organization as both a player, a coach, and a broadcaster for the vast majority of the last quarter of a century, say what he says. All that does for fans is go, see, we were right. Edmonds just confirmed all that we had been theorizing. Even the guys who led the team to its great era don't want to be around the organization. And so now that validates. It's one thing if you have a talk show host or a writer saying it. It's another thing if you have somebody who has the credibility of a guy who played for the organization, knows what goes on behind the scenes, and says what he says. We will welcome you to give your thoughts. You're welcome to call in. Callier and Thompson phone lines, 314-974-0101. You're also welcome to text in 314-399-9646. We'll carry over this discussion into the next segment. The Jim Edmonds interview, if you missed it, you want to go back and podcast. Schaefer Door Company sponsor the podcast. And then you can also listen on the TMA STL app or 101 ESPN app. That is how you can take a listen to it. It was about a 45-minute conversation with Jim Edmonds. Moritz Reusch, a sponsor here on TMA. They are located right across from the gallery at 1034 South Brentwood Boulevard. Online at ninjabling.com. If you're thinking about jewelry for your significant other for Valentine's Day, go to ninjabling.com and go in there and get a chance to meet with the family that operates Moritz Reusch. I've gotten to know them, and I think the world of what they can do for people who are in the market for jewelry, because let's be honest, most of us don't have a clue about it, and it's an uncomfortable process going, I don't know what I'm going to spend. I don't know what I want. That's why you get that one-on-one service at Moritz Reusch. And it's straightforward. No twinkle lights. They'll work within your budget. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. Go to ninjabling.com. They're located on the 15th floor of the Tower Building across from the Galleria. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne with you. This is TMA, presented to you by Brown and Crouppen on 101 ESPN. Jackson Burkett, who is ill. We're fresh off about a 45-minute conversation with Jim Edmonds. I would recommend listening to that if you did not get a chance to listen to it live. Martin, let's start with you. What stood out to you most from that conversation?
I was taking notes throughout. No fun at the stadium.
Yeah.
And that's as a former player who, those guys come back. There's a lot of glad handing. Hey, good to see you. Mm-hmm. So he was hinting at, and I get it. First of all, I think there's the caveat when it's Jim. People, oh, he's just a whiner. He's a baby. So you have to kind of put that aside. And is there something more that he's trying to address? Just organizationally, he sounds like the fellow players are disappointed. They don't feel welcome. And then when I said, well, have you done anything about it? He said, I have. Top to the bottom. Meaning the DeWitts, I'm sure Mo. Basically saying, none of us feel welcome. He had a specific example where Nolan Arenado, not named, just a third baseman from, is it Newport Beach? Okay. Mm-hmm. Wanted Mark McGwire to come around and was told, we've got everything we need here. You don't want to be an organization that's paranoid or intimidated, so you want to have some of those kind of voices coming back. Again, we should ask the Cardinals. I think maybe the next break, I'll even text or call B3 and say, hey, just so you're aware.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And say, hey, this is what was discussed today. You guys are certainly welcome to respond. And they may say, hey, that's Jim's opinion. We have no problem with that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. The TV side of it, I'm surprised it's this late in the game that they're deciding. Maybe that's just sort of his arrangement. I would think most broadcasters know in November or December, hey, am I back with the team? How many games am I doing? But maybe with Jim, it was just kind of a loosey-goosey kind of deal. So maybe that's not of note. But I think the bigger story is not he's broadcasting, whether you liked him or not in the booth. I think it's still about organizationally. He says it's no fun down there and the former players aren't welcome. So if you can set aside whatever your personal feelings are about Edmonds, I think that message is what's upsetting to fans.
What stood out to you?
Yeah. It does seem like a significant thing if an organization that has long prided itself in its history and the great players that have come through here, now those players don't feel comfortable or don't feel welcome or don't enjoy their time there. That seems like a significant cultural shift to me. And I don't know what they do to get that back. Yeah. I don't know how much 2 really bad seasons has complicated all this, where everybody's down and upset and nobody's happy and feeling in the mood to be doing a bunch of back patting and things. Losing can do that to you. Losing can really crunch the atmosphere and the culture of an organization, and maybe that's what's happened here.
Caller David is on the Collier and Thompson phone lines as people react to our conversation with Jim Edmonds this morning. Morning, David.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning. Welcome to the show.
David.
So, David. I love Jim Edmonds, favorite ball player. I think that man loves this organization. He's dedicated most of his professional career to this team. I don't think this is a message on vengeance or vendetta. I think he's getting on the airwaves frustrated and with his love expressing true concerns. And I think it's 100%. You could probably validate it. I think one thing I want to pull from that interview is when he kind of hinted at, look, I have Nolan and Goldie in my basement trying to figure things out that they seem to not be able to get help with. And I think about those 2 players no longer being part of the organization. I think about what's left. Young, controllable players, easier to maybe implement a policy of this all needs to stay in-house, outside voices stay away, Jimmy, no thank you. And when I'm listening to Jim, I'm hearing someone who might be a little hurt, a little bit spit up, chewed out, trying to give you my professional advice. And I'm turned away each and every time. And I'm not the only one being turned away. We have guys that helped build this franchise and what it's become. And they're not being invited. They're not being listened to. And as a fan, you hit it right. You hit the nail on the head. It validated a ton of concerns I think I already had. And I have even more anger. And I feel like this team has completely lost its way. And I'm so sorry that Jim Edmonds felt that way. And I want you to send him a text and let him know that this is his home. We love him and never go away, because that's what he deserves.
David, thank you so much for the phone call.
Thank you.
That's David with his thoughts in response to the Edmonds interview. I agree with his observation that, he's working with Arenado in his basement. He has a batting cage in his basement, for the record. And what does that say? While he is grinding it out, and that Arenado made a request to the Cardinals for Mark McGwire to come to spring training. And we tried to ask him who it was that he was saying was responsible for these things. And Martin, when you asked, he said from top to bottom. Whether it be the McGwire thing, the lack of representation from Cardinal alumni, the cold shoulder, so to speak. He says he's brought it to people from top to bottom. So he didn't name anybody specifically per se, but he said from top to bottom.
Even Willie McGee left. Was that last year or the year before? I don't know if that's a similar situation, if he felt similarly. Or
Well, he's always been difficult to get along with, right?
Not really, no.
Okay,
no.
I got something.
Well, and I had him on the podcast, and you're not going to get Willie to drop bombs. Let's be honest, right? But I think there's a little frustration there, like kind of the way the game is shifting. Now, that's more about Major League Baseball in general, but I think they made it clear to him, hey, the workload is this and that and the other, and he's like, I'm good, man. I'm there. He's there earlier than anybody in the building. I don't want to speak for Willie, but I think if it was up to him entirely, he'd still be in uniform next year as a coach on the bench.
Well,
but
that's saying something.
Well, that's my opinion. Yeah. That's my opinion.
I don't doubt this gets to be a real grind for guys who had great success. They get to be in their 50s and 60s, and their kids grow up a little bit. All the travel and the long, long season and the days, all the time away from home, I don't doubt that it's probably really hard to hang in there long term.
Yeah, but is there a kind of new school, old school war going on in sports in general, baseball specific, where maybe, hey, here's how we used to do it, doesn't have a place? And I think that's kind of a feud that's going on within the game, and I think it's playing out with the Cardinals as well. If like, well, here's how we used to do. Well, yeah, we don't do that anymore. I got a laptop that tells me what to do over here. Yeah, but hey, Willie, where would you put the outfielder? Well, hold on, what's the computer say? And I'm just making that up as an example. I'd go with the guy who played. I'm sorry. I'd smash the laptop like Jim Montgomery did Friday in Colorado, and I'd say, hey, what do you think we should do here? And I think that battle is playing out in baseball, but I think the Cardinals are dealing with that too, where the analytics of the game is so prevalent that maybe this former player's voice doesn't get the audience it used to get.
Former KSTK sports producer Larry Thornton texting into the Air Comfort Service text inbox. Edmonds has no reason to just blast off. So when he does it, it makes me think it's a really bad situation. If it was just kind of bad, I don't think we'd be hearing about it. That's from Larry Thornton.
I don't doubt that there's real frustration between the older guys and the analytic guys in the press box who are apparently making a lot of the decisions and the calls. That would frustrate anyone, I think, when you know that you knew how to do it and you did it better than most people who have ever played the game before, and yet the team is taking advice instead from somebody with a laptop computer in the press box. I'm sure that's terribly frustrating.
Well, the stories in L.A. is that Dave Roberts gets handed the lineup. I mean, that's been told me by many people that that's where the game is, and it's working for people like the Dodgers, which in addition to writing big checks and being smart at baseball, but it's part of this whole vibe that people are getting right now. What is the approach? I would say at minimum, if your team's not overly competitive or doing all that well, then even more so, you'd kind of embrace the past, which I've always, picked on the Cardinals for overdoing it with nostalgia. Hey, it's the 12th anniversary of that one game we won that one time. I've always thought they overdid it. And maybe that's different. Maybe promotions and nostalgia is different than actual invites or a player feeling welcome. Maybe those two things could be happening at the same time.
You're welcome to share your thoughts. 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service. A text line, and then you can email in. Email the day, the morning after at InsideSTL.com. You can call in 314-974-0101. Jim Edmonds with us, about 45 minutes. It's an interview you're going to want to listen to. If you did not get a chance to listen to it live, you can go back and podcast via the Schaefer Door Company podcast. Mentality says that if you are feeling low energy, low motivation, you're tired all the time, dealing with weight gain or muscle loss, especially belly fat, it could be a symptom of low testosterone. A Mentality is a local healthcare facility that specializes in helping men feel and perform at their very best. Mentality focuses on free testosterone levels, which many doctors overlook, ensuring your treatment is tailored to your body. Energy comes roaring back, belly fat burns off, muscle strengthens. These are things that can happen once you start working with Mentality. The treatments are designed to fit your life, even with a busy schedule. This year, stop settling for a fraction of your potential. Mentality's New Year offer is your chance to take back control. Men today have 30% less testosterone. Take back your numbers. Visit mentalityhealth.com/radio to get access. Coming up in our Mark Hanna Evergreen Wealth Strategies 9 o'clock hour, Gabe DeArmond will be with us. He's brought to you by James Carlton every week. And in the 10 o'clock hour, we'll be joined by Chris Kerber and have our Design Air Heating and Cooling email of the day. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, Chairman Cardinal for the ill Jackson Burkett. This is TMA, presented to you by Brown & Crouppen on 101 ESPN.
This is Chairman Kerr with another Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Your top 25 ranked Missouri Tigers with a big win in SEC play over the weekend against Mississippi State, 88-61. They'll be back in action on Wednesday night in Knoxville against the Tennessee Volunteers. Tip-off will be at 6 p.m. This was another Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
This is the Morning After 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, James Carlton in studio as well. KG in O-Town running the board as Jackson Burkett is ill. And we welcome you to get involved on the program anytime you would like by participating in our YouTube chat, youtube.com/TMASTL, and by emailing in for our design, air, heating, and cooling email today, the morning after at InsideSTL.com. James Carlton in studio. He sponsors Gabe DeArmond, who's going to join us here in a matter of seconds on the Callier and Thompson phone lines. And for those of you who missed the Jim Edmonds conversation, it is now up on the TMA STL podcast app. So download the TMA STL podcast app or the 101 ESPN podcast, and you can listen to Jim Edmonds, about a 45-minute conversation from about 7:45 to 8:30 on TMA this morning. I would recommend giving it a listen, as it was quite critical of a wide variety of things, specifically the Cardinals, and we'll be playing some of those clips coming up. James, good morning. What's up, man?
Good morning. I would imagine there's some people late for work today. They couldn't get out of their car on that one.
Yeah, 45 minutes with Jim.
That was something.
Appreciate it, man. Hey, how about what took place on Saturday in Starkville?
I mean, I did not see that coming up.
I guess
the biggest win against a ranked team on the road ever, or 45 years, something crazy like that.
Colonel is with us right now, Gabe DeArmond of Power Mizzou, brought to you by James Carlton, to give us some perspective. Morning, Colonel.
Hi, what's up, guys?
What do you say, Gabe? I mean, that thing on Saturday, listen, winning at Florida, super impressive, period. Beating Kansas at home, super impressive, period. But that was otherworldly. I think if Mississippi State had a bigger brand, maybe it would get more attention and appreciation from casual fans. But that's the 12th ranked team in the country, and to beat the hell out of them like that, that was really eye-opening.
Yeah, and a team that was favored to beat Missouri by 6.5 on Saturday morning. And I mean, really start to finish. The moment where, and I don't think I'm unique in this, but the moment where you go, oh, this one's going to be a little bit different, is the just 40-foot pull-up by Caleb Grill. Now, yes, he had to do it to beat the shot clock, but it didn't even look like a desperation shot. It looked like this is just what he does, from the eye in Mississippi State. And I think that gave him a 12-point lead, and you just thought, sometimes you just pick out a play and go, well, yeah, maybe it's your day today. You bank in a three or something like that. And that was the one where you said, oh, this is going to be different. It was Missouri's largest win ever on the road against a ranked team. And it was Mississippi State's worst home loss since February of 2013.
I know the Tigers knew that they had to be better than they played last year, but do you think they're surprising maybe even themselves at how well things are going this year? I mean, did you see this coming? Did they see it coming?
They thought they were good. I talked to some people before the season, but I was hesitant because I talked to people before the season last year who thought they were good. And that did not go well, as you may remember. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it surprises them. My expectations going into the season, I think I picked them to win 17 or 18 games and probably just missed the tournament. They are at 17 right now. So, yes, I think they have exceeded every outside expectation for sure.
They were 13th in the preseason polling in the SEC, picked to finish 13th, currently sitting in third. I didn't realize what an assassin Grill was. He was out earlier this year, and that obviously that was a big miss when he was out. What do you remember about him coming in last year, Gabe? He played at high level, Iowa State, I think, twice. He's been in college ball for a while. What was the kind of the bio on Caleb Grill?
Well, I mean, they were really excited about him. They thought, they thought he was the best shooter on their team, and they thought John Tonje was the best player. And honestly, through the 9 games that he played last year, the biggest contribution Caleb Grill made was getting a technical at Minnesota. They fired the team up, and then they won it with him in the locker room. Other than that, he was a bad shooter last year. He just never got it going. And in the first couple games this year, he didn't shoot the ball well. And so everybody, and I don't think it was unfair to think this, I thought it was thinking, where's this guy they told us about? Because I haven't seen him yet. And then all of a sudden, he just caught fire. He got hurt, and you thought, man, that's really going to hurt him. And then he came back, and it was like he was never hurt. It is to the point when he misses a three-point shot, I'm surprised.
Yeah, Gabe, I had a little Freudian slip on Saturday. Called him Caleb Clark. He's shooting it from the logo. I mean, he's all over the place right now. And, hey, you had written this morning about Dennis Gates maybe being the front runner for SEC Coach of the Year. Him and Bruce Pearl would be the top 2, in your opinion. Would that be 2 out of the last 2 seasons that Mizzou would have the football SEC Coach of the Year and the basketball Coach of the Year potentially?
Was Drinkwitz SEC Coach of the Year, I guess, last year?
I feel like it was recent, yeah. And so I mean, that's pretty remarkable. Right. I mean, what other schools can claim that right now? That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and I don't think that Dennis Gates was the SEC Coach of the Year 2 years ago, but a lot of people thought he should have been. You know, he won it 2 out of his 3 years at Cleveland State. So I think the best thing for Missouri fans about this year is it is looking more and more like last year was the anomaly.
Yeah. Was there any noise, Gabe? I mean, Laird Veach was the new AD. It was DRF that hired Gates. I mean, even though it's only one really bad year, did you even suspect there was any noise about, well, maybe they'll make a move?
No, only on the internet. And look, the main reason was they would have owed him $24 million. And I said, even coming into this year, I said, look, I understand if he has a bad year this year, coming off 0-19, I know what you guys are going to want. But they have made it very clear where their money is going. They're not going to spend $17 million to fire Dennis Gates after this year. Even if they'd been now, maybe if they'd gone 0-18 again, and maybe you don't have a choice, right? But I mean, even if they were sub 500 and missed the tournament, I always thought it would at earliest be next year. But now, I mean, and this is where college sports is. Now there was a thread on our board last week. Do you have to give Gates an extension? I don't know why it never. I don't know why it either has to be an extension or you fire him, but that seems to be the way it is.
And there's a legitimate chance you wrote about in your 10 thoughts that Mizzou could break their own all-time record of 7 wins against ranked teams. Is that right? And they're currently sitting there at 4-2.
They've got 4 right now. They'll play at least 4 more ranked teams in the regular season, probably at least 1 in the SEC tournament. Who knows in the NCAAs? But yeah, the 89-90 team, which I maintain is the best Missouri team I've ever seen. You know, they were up number 1 in the country for a while, kind of collapsed, you know, down the stretch, and I think that was the year they got beat by Northern Iowa. But that team won 7 games against teams that I believe were all ranked in the top 15, including 4 against top 10 teams, beat number 1 Kansas twice. So yeah, that's the most they've ever had. And it's pretty interesting. I went back through every season starting with 1976. It's kind of amazing how many years Missouri didn't play 4 ranked teams. Like the first year they were in the SEC, they played 4 games against ranked teams. Only 2 of them were in the SEC, and those were both against Florida. They had a couple of years in the Big 8 where they played like 1 or 2 ranked teams all year.
Does this team have any kind of ceiling? I mean, if we get hot, can we win this baby?
Nice.
Whoa.
The ceiling is winning the whole thing. I mean, I wrote that this morning. Now, do you expect that to happen? Of course not. But look, they blew out Mississippi State on the road. They were up 20 on Florida on the road. They were up 25 on Kansas. That on the right night, they can beat anybody. But I also, and this has been my stance forever in college basketball, you don't start saying in February, well, this is an Elite 8 team, or this team needs to get here. And sure, it can happen, but Norfolk State can happen. You can lose to St. Peter's. I mean, that's why the tournament is great. Before you even know the matchups or the road, I think it's silly to say, well, this is X team in the NCAA tournament. Missouri is one of the teams that I think, if they continue to play anywhere near this, should go into the NCAA tournament saying we can beat anybody in this field. But, obviously, that's not saying you would expect them to get to a Final Four.
For the record, Missouri is plus 7,000 to win the national championship, Doug. The favorite is not Auburn. A little surprised by that. Duke is plus 340. Auburn is plus 350. And then there is a significant drop down to Alabama at plus 1,000. And Houston, Iowa State, and then their opponent coming up, Tennessee, plus 1,800.
There was somebody on our board saying that a couple weeks ago Missouri was like plus 4,000 to be a Final Four team, and now it's all the way down to like plus 1,700.
The number for Missouri to reach the Final Four, which would be a first, is plus 1,700. That's exactly right, Colonel.
Yeah, so it's basically gotten, more than twice as likely, I guess, in the last 2 weeks.
Switching to football real quick, I saw you mentioned the Jackson Cantwell from Nixa, Missouri, who I believe, is he the number one ranked offensive lineman in the country at the high school level or the number one ranked player in the country?
He is, by the composite rankings, which kind of combines every ranking, the number one overall prospect in the country.
And so that would put him in line with DGB, I guess, is potentially the biggest get from a rankings perspective in Mizzou history. I mean, how do you like the chances of Eli getting him at this point?
I mean, they'll be in there with Georgia and Oregon. I refuse to say in February who might lead or anything. We got 10 months of this thing, and we know it can change a lot. But he was on campus again last week. They live 3 hours from here. Eli Drinkwitz, will probably do the Oklahoma Marcus Dupree thing of buying a house in Nixa where he can just kind of hang out in the week leading up to his decisions. But
suppose he could afford to do that.
They'll definitely be in it. What's that?
He could afford to do that. Certainly on his salary, he could pick up a little place in Nixa.
He could. I mean, he has a nice abode in Columbia. He could just offer the Cantwells a wing of that house and say, "We'll never see each other. You can live here."
There you go.
Won't even know you're around.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, I'd say go down to Nixa, get a two-family. Eli stays on one, and then you rent out the other side just for some income.
Yeah, he may need something fancier than that.
A little Airbnb.
Yeah.
Brandon Baker in the YouTube chat just posted this, Doug. I prayed about 20 years ago that if Mizzou could get to a Final Four, I'd sacrifice my soul to Satan. Is that still binding? I did specifically said it had to be that season, though. So maybe it isn't.
I think he's in the clear.
You think he's in the clear?
Mm-hmm. Hate to see him do that.
Read the Colonel's 10 thoughts for a Monday morning at powermizzou.com and check things out with the Colonel at powermizzou.com. Brought to you by James Carlton every Monday and Friday here on TMA. Colonel, always appreciate the time, sir. Thanks so much.
All right, appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you.
That's Gabe DeArmond with us here on the Callier and Thompson phone lines. James, always good to see you and talk it over with you, and we'll see how they fare against the Vols.
It'll probably be close between the Edmonds and the Gabe interview with downloads today. Have a good one, guys.
There he is. That's James Carlton. He's online at carltoninsurance.net. He's my insurance agent, and we were matching in our TMA hoodies. And Doug, you said that was cute.
Cute in the Dickens.
You can get your TMA merch at TMA STL Shop. Doug, we have a new sponsor on the dossier, and that sponsor is Stiefel.
And you said it right. They're concerned that not enough people say their name right. We do have a new sponsor. More importantly, we now have an official sponsor of the dossier, and much like the word dossier, some are going to say dossier. I'm not sure people are pronouncing this name correctly either. I assume you've heard the name. It's been around town for a long time now, and you see it when you tune into Cardinal baseball or Blues hockey. It is, of course, Stiefel. It's not Stiefel. It's not Stifle. It's nothing but Stiefel. We need to know that. It's founded in downtown St. Louis in 1890 and still headquartered there today. Stiefel is proud to have called St. Louis home for 135 years. With financial advisors in 12 offices across the region, Stiefel helps clients right here in St. Louis and nationwide manage their hard-earned wealth. Stiefel also provides banking, lending, trust services, and has a full-service investment bank. Basically, when it comes to finance, Stiefel has you covered. And one more thing, as one of the fastest-growing wealth management firms in the world, their tagline is where success meets success. I'd say it's no wonder they decided to partner with a winning program like this one. Stiefel and TMA, that's where success meets success. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Where success meets success. TMA and Stiefel.
This is the high net worth show, and I feel like it should be marketed that way.
Yes.
Martin, the sophisticated, well-heeled listeners of St. Louis tune into TMA, and they have since 2004.
I think the best indication of that was during the Edmonds interview. There were a number of texters that said, Jimmy, come home. Signed Festus, and they were saying, come on back, that they were welcoming him. And I'm being serious. There were multiple texters
I noticed that.
saying, Jimmy Festus needs you. Come back, please. Jimmy, come back. What's like Gary Coleman? I think this is a record-setting day on the text line. Doug, do you keep track of that?
We've broken the record on the text. I see 330 people are in the YouTube chat. How about that?
Well, that's a nice number.
And that's rare when there isn't a female in the studio. That might be for an all-male YouTube chat. That might be the record.
Doug Stiefel dossier, we are abiding because we really have not broken down the Luka Doncic Lakers trade. That's been embargoed by Jackson, so he'll be able to take that over when he's back, when he returns. Thoughts and prayers.
We're going to need his expertise on that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to email in for the Design, Air, Heating, and Cooling email today, the morning after at InsideSTL.com. The self-made stay-at-home Ledoux mom won it on Friday. Brand new month this month. So now everybody's starting from square one, Doug. Everybody's 0 and 0. Okay. We all have clean uniforms. Yes. Now let's go get dirty. The morning after at InsideSTL.com. And wow, I didn't realize that there was a relationship here, but the self-made stay-at-home Ledoux mom just texted in and said, thanks, Gramps, for sponsoring the dossier. And so she's implying that her grandfather's involved with Stiefel?
Right.
This
maybe Mr. Stiefel himself.
Ledoux mom?
Maybe that's really her last name, Stiefel.
Wow, that's breaking news.
Could very well be.
There's so many. What a tangled web we weave.
Can she win the email of the month if she's related to a sponsor?
We'll have to look at the TMA bylaws. They are.
Ask Megan Green, what are the rules for that?
She won last month, and they started sponsoring today.
True.
So
True.
She's okay.
Good point, Doug.
Nice. Have we met?
Ruling.
Quote her?
Whoa!
It's a barrel-chested gentleman.
Her.
Not to mention her hot body that looks hot in a bikini.
How about that?
Her is not a she at all. This is a barrel-chested pipe fitter from Spanish Lake.
You always narrow it down to Spanish Lake.
Well, I just recognize the writing style.
Well.
Waffle fries.
At Tim McKernan, love the Junior Bills hat signed your Billiken bathroom buddy. That's from the 314.
You got a bathroom buddy?
You know what? I actually was like, oh, that's a nice text name. And then I'm like, oh, I did meet a gentleman who went to St. Louis U High, and I think I was wearing this hat at the Billiken-Dayton game.
Oh, nice.
And I have a Billiken bathroom buddy. Yeah. I was bringing my son, who has to use the restroom way too much for somebody who's 7.
Yeah.
But I was bringing him into the restroom, and he was a loyal listener of the program. And so, yeah, I like to make friends with guys in public restrooms. What's wrong with it?
Oh, and you've got your TMA hoodie on to show off your darling figure.
Thank you so much. My waif-like figure. I'm like the Kate Moss of HD1.
I need kind of a TMA follow-up. Did we have pizza before the game or after the game?
Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
I was ill on Friday. Still not 100%. I think everybody is. You're better though, Martin.
I'm about 100%.
Nice.
Still got a little bit of that stuff that's driving me crazy.
Jamie Rivers had it last week. Tanner had it last week. Jackson's still out.
He's got strep.
Yeah.
Is it HIPAA? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
I don't know if that's a HIPAA violation or not, but the only person in my family who hasn't gotten sick is my 3-year-old. But anyway, woke up from a long winter's nap on Friday, and I'm like, oh, we got to get pizza because the game's at 6 o'clock, and we did. We did get the pizza before the game. I think it's the right thing. I don't like to eat late and then go to bed. So that was my reason. Back in the day, sure, I'd get Gumby's down in Columbia with pokey sticks if you don't mind, and it's 2 a.m. and you're just feed me more.
I see.
But now I'm eating at 4:30, like I'm at Grown's cafeteria.
Because I'm so amped on chugging with my boys.
Right, that's what I was doing.
It's like in a haze, you look over there and say, "Is that Larry Eustace?" God, I'm a little out of it. It's getting late. Saw a lot of folks at the game, Billiken game Friday, and people said, "Hey, heard you guys talking today," and a lot of good interaction. Then I saw Bruce Weber there, former Illini coach, and I noticed he was sitting in the section where the fight was, and I thought, is this the move? Did Chris May hire Bruce Weber to handle security? And then I was watching Dr. Chaffetz. He was at the game. He gets all fired up.
Boy, he does.
And the announcers, it has to drive them crazy because he's blocking their view 50% of the game, I would say.
Can't say anything. He owns the building.
He owns the building. But, it's fun to watch him get fired up. And Troy Robertson wasn't far down the row there in that front row with Chaffetz. He was almost on the court a couple of times.
He's fired up.
Getting after those zebras a couple of times, looked like.
Martin, I went from the second to last row of Chaffetz, ran into a sponsor, hooked me up with a better seat. I ended up in the
Seth Goldcamp.
Seth Goldcamp.
Designer, heating and cooling.
Fooling.
He sees members of this show and he moves them from the second to the last row to the front row.
So unfortunately, I had to abandon the person who had gotten me an original free ticket so that I could go down and sit courtside in a nice plush seat, all you can eat, all you can drink.
Really?
I saw Frank. He was like 10 rows behind. I had better seats than the media, Doug.
I'll be darned. But you left your friend up in the rafters?
A family member, actually.
Oh, that's okay. That's different.
Well, you can do that to family.
Yeah.
I think anybody would have done what I did and moved on down. I haven't seen a lot of basketball in my day. Up close, it's amazing how big and agile those guys are, and it was a good time.
More importantly,
Shout out Seth Goldcamp.
What'd you have to eat?
I did not eat there. I didn't eat anything.
I thought it was all you could eat.
Well, it was, but I didn't partake.
Yeah, he's keeping his body tight and rewarding, boy.
That's not necessarily true, but I didn't partake. Did have a lot of water, though.
Yeah.
I was a little embarrassed because I took off running up the steps at the end because I really had to go to the little wizard's room.
Oh, no.
And I think twice, my toe caught the step, and I about face planted going up.
Oh, get your feet up in the air.
Bad look for a chairman, so needed to slow down, but I really had to go.
Did everyone wear the white shirt? Because I put it on, and over the shirt I was wearing, it was a little snug, and I thought, I don't want to be the fat guy in a little suit. I was like, I asked my nephew, who's like 20, 21, I said, do you mind making a run to the, he's like, to what? And I said, just switch out my shirt. He said, yeah, maybe later. And then it didn't get done, so I did not. Maybe that's why they lost. I didn't have the Blizzard shirt on. I apologize.
Didn't help. I know that. Didn't help.
Well, yeah, we were all decked out in the Billiken gear. Also, perhaps the big, Missouri beat Mississippi State. Ohio State and Illinois had a battle. Illinois that wound up pulling away. Billikens lose to Dayton. But I think the biggest basketball story locally, the St. Gabriel 7th grade tournament.
No.
What?
They had 4 teams in the Final Four, Doug?
No. 3, Martin.
3 in the Final Four.
So they all wound up on the medal platform, medal stage, no doubt.
I only pay attention to who wins the whole thing.
Okay.
That's the way I was raised. Yeah. And congratulations to St. Gabriel's. They win in overtime. Final score 23-18. Great to see St. Peter.
Poured it on in the OT.
Finishing in second place. Yeah, they wanted to cover the number, 4.5, and they did. It's amazing. Good teams win, great teams cover, and that's always been the motto at Tam and Nottingham.
In the team stats, can I find out how many free throws were shot by the home team? Yeah, just want to know.
Don't hate the player, hate their game.
Take a listen to Natty Nate.
And they had the banner printed up already the second they won.
Serious charges you're making. Okay. These are serious charges you're making. For those of you who did not hear Jim Edmonds on the program earlier, Mike Ryder, the executive producer here of 101 ESPN, has pulled some of the more prominent clips from that conversation. We will play some of those for you coming up and discuss them. That is next here on TMA. Chris Kerber in the 10 o'clock hour, along with the Design, Air, Heating, and Cooling email of the day, the morning after at InsideSTL.com. This is TMA on 101 ESPN and the TMA STL YouTube channel. CMA 101 ESPN, Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, Chairman Kurt in for the ill Jackson Burkett. Was returning from, what do you call it, Doug, the Little Wizard's Room?
Yeah, that's what he called it.
And Courtney Landrum of 106.5 The Arch said, hey, I heard you guys had quite an interview today, 45 minutes with Jim Edmonds. And I just was saying as I walked back in the studio, I said, yeah, this thing has made its way around the building and around St. Louis sports. And I'm sure plenty of you are going, I wish I would have been able to hear it. Well, great news. You can always go back and podcast like the Dickens via the Schaefer Door Company podcast on the TMA STL app. But we also have some clips from the interview for those of you who did not get a chance to hear. Jim was on with us from about, I would say, 7:48 to 8:33. So we wanted to revisit some of the clips for you here. As far as him not returning to the booth, he wanted to make it clear that this was not something that he was planning on doing anyway. And here is his reasoning. Clip 1, Chairman.
I'm tired of listening to the critics. I'm tired of guessing if I'm doing the right thing or not. And I just had enough. It's total chaos. People working every day. I don't know where they're supposed to be. We can't get mics to work. TV doesn't work. Replays don't work. The game is so fast right now. You don't even have time to talk. They don't need two people in the booth. It's just commercial after commercial after commercial. It's not the same anymore, and it's definitely took a toll on just the fun part of it.
And so when I asked him why it's not fun anymore, because he wasn't just talking about the broadcast, he was talking about going down to the ballpark. Here is what he had to say when I asked him why it's not fun anymore. This is clip 2, Chairman.
It's not fun anymore. The baseball is, they don't make you feel like you're wanted. Be around the stadium. I love Ollie, the DeWitts, I have so much respect for, Mo. Everybody's great, but somehow indoors, in the inner circle, it's just not the same. It's not the same organization. It's not fun to be around. They make it pretty obvious, even the security guards, like, hey, it might not be a good time. I'm like, fine with me. I don't need to be in there. If you don't want me to tell your pitchers that they're tipping their pitch, I'm going to take my talents out here to Tennessee and learn how to be a gardener and a farmer.
And when he says
a little different than LeBron and Jim Gray.
God, the decision. Jim, what's your decision? Going to Tennessee to be a farmer. And when he says security guard, what I believe he was referring to there is not getting into the clubhouse to talk to players. Yes. There must have been some sort of edict that said at a certain time, you don't get to just walk through these doors. And again, I don't know all the particulars, but that's hard to hear, not just Jim, but if it's true, what he's saying, that former players of some prominence, too, want to be involved and are not welcome. I was mentioning this to Doug off air. I had Trent Green on my podcast a couple weeks ago, and he was saying he's really enjoying Jaden Daniels in Washington because Trent played 4 or 5 years there, and he said for a while they didn't really want us coming around. Alumni were never really welcome. I thought, why is that? It's got to be insecurity. Why wouldn't you want Spags kicked everybody out of the
and Jim took down the pictures, right?
Took down all the pictures of the former play. We're going to create new memories, going 2-11 or whatever. But Jim Hanifin was told you can't use the elliptical machine. And I'm like, really?
You got to pick your battles, and that's a battle you got to win.
That's going to make you better on Sunday because Hanny's in the building? Good God, that drove me crazy. I don't have specific stories like that pertaining to the Cardinals, but Edmonds is saying that a number of them don't feel welcome there anymore. And when I said, have you addressed this with anyone? And he said, yeah, from top to bottom.
Yeah, so going through what he had to say on that, Martin, he said it is a different atmosphere at Busch Stadium now. Clip 3, sir.
The atmosphere, as far as you can just feel the tension when you walk around. The guys are kind of they're different. The players are obviously different. The game has completely changed. You walk through the clubhouse, you can see the clubhouse guys are really busy. They don't have time. No one has time to talk. You kind of sit down and you're like, hey, how's it going? And it's just kind of I feel like I'm walking into, your studio and sitting on the outside of your studio talking to people I don't know yet to get in to talk to you. And it's I don't know. It's just weird. It's just a different atmosphere now. And it definitely is. We're definitely aware as a group that we're not really wanted around there anymore.
Jim Edmonds saying that they do not necessarily want the alumni around. Here is what he had to say when we asked him why it's not fun.
they just don't invite us down there anymore. It's a total different atmosphere, and it kind of makes you feel like you're not appreciated, not wanted, don't need your help. And like I said, I have the utmost respect for the people, but something's different as a whole. And I know the players feel it, the alumni feels it, and it's just different. It's just not as much fun.
Asked him who is to blame for the change.
I don't know. The culture, the atmosphere. What's funny is like the COVID thing, I think, is where it almost makes me feel like the COVID thing was the perfect excuse to just cut the ties with all the extra crap. You know how they say cut the fat? And basically that's what Mo said to a couple of us when we were working as his assistants. Basically cut the fat, and it just continued. And it's just like ever since then it's been, if you see each other in the hallway, it's like, hey, how you doing? How's the family? And then see you next month. It's just weird.
And that goes to the culture. And this is where he got into this anecdote about Noah Arenado and his request from Mark McGwire to come to spring training to help out with hitting, and that request being denied by the organization.
I know for a fact that there's a guy I won't name, but he plays third base, asked if Mark McGwire could come to spring training, and they said, no, we have everything we need. And that was a couple of years ago, so it's not just something new. And like I said, I don't know there's no blame. I just think the culture's changed. I really do. I think that, you watch all these sports, everything has changed. You watch football, it's like, wow, the guy hit him with the shoulder in the chest, and he gets thrown out of the game. I mean, like baseball, the same thing. It's like everything is just changing, and it's just I think it's funny when you like listen to podcasts and stuff, and they talk about how like this era of sports and this era of this are a bunch of babies. Like it's just like you got to baby everybody now, and like don't ruffle anybody's feathers. I'm like, screw that. Like if you're losing, you better get in somebody's face, and that's kind of like the personality that I got forced onto with La Russa, and I have a hard time changing that.
So with regard to the conversation with Jim Edmonds that went from about 7:50 to 7:35 or 8:35, I'm sorry, on TMA this morning, which you can go back and podcast if you want to listen to it in its entirety. Certainly a number of things said that were critical of the Cardinal organization. He's also critical of the Post-Dispatch. We have reached out to Martin. You reached out to Bill DeWitt III.
I did. I texted him that there was an interview, and it's hard to explain via text the topics, and I just said I could explain it further later.
And I texted the person that we communicate with, all of us at the Post-Dispatch, Roger Hensley, the sports editor, because when somebody says something about an organization, the right thing to do is to allow them to give their side of the story. And so that is what we have done, and to this moment have not heard back, but nonetheless, the platform would be there for them to respond if they want to. Sometimes people don't want to respond and just let it go. But that is, those are 8 different sound bites of Jim Edmonds on with us this morning. And again, you can hear it in its entirety on the TMA STL app.
And I think largely the texters enjoyed the honesty.
Yeah, I'd say about 90%.
Yeah, and I think some people said, oh, midlife crisis, oh, he's bitter. I'm telling you one thing, and I referenced this to him during the interview, he's always just been himself. And whether you liked him on the broadcast or like how he conducts himself, or he just lives his life, and he's not overly concerned. But it does sound like some of the criticism bothered him with the online things as far as his broadcasting. And that's probably the hardest thing if you're a former player that becomes a broadcaster and people are critiquing you for that job. And I know way more than any of you do about the game. That doesn't make you a great broadcaster in general. But I bet that is hard when you played at a high level and you get critiqued for your broadcast work because you feel like, hey, I'm just telling you about the game and I know way more than anybody watching.
I think actually what he was talking about, I think that's part of it. And I think that is kind of the easier thing to talk about. And I asked him about it maybe, 80% of the way through the conversation. I think what really gets to him is the criticism of his personal life and the writing of his personal life, which, as somebody who knows him, I'm aware of a number of things that I've read that I'm just like, well, that isn't true, but it's not my battle to fight. It's kind of tabloidy stuff. I mean, plenty of the things, I'm sure you saw it, Martin, while he was on with us, tell Jim to go do this with this, and, making reference to divorces and stuff that was, and I, again, having a rapport with him, I'm aware of things. It's not my place to talk about, but I know it. I mean, we've all, I would imagine, had things written about us, certainly our show, that we know aren't true, but then you sit there, do you make a big deal out of it and pick a fight? And I think all of that combined with not enjoying doing the games like he used to, it got him to a point, and also he made reference to his wife, Courtney, saying, hey, you don't have forever. And I don't know how old he is. I would guess early 50s. Early 50s. And he just doesn't want to spend his life getting ripped and having people say things, think things that he knows aren't true, but then how do you put out all the fires? To just go live in isolation in Tennessee kind of speaks to exactly what I think he feels like he needs. So that was that's it. I'm done. I don't give a damn. Here's what I think. Here's what I know. Here's what I'm going to say. And I'm sure if you weren't aware, why would most people be aware of his sentiments on a lot of this stuff? It probably sounded like, holy crap, he's losing his mind to some people, and I understand that. But being aware of, I think, some of that frustration, which he talked a little bit about here and there on some things that I think lead to what we heard this morning, which all certainly is not about baseball.
Right. He did say, though, you got the fat guy sitting at home in his basement, critiquing his critique. But I think people's opinion of him as a broadcaster has been affected by some of his personal life stuff being played public. And so they have a view of him.
Never going on that damn show. I mean, that was something. I remember Isringhausen. Isringhausen was on with me and him when we were doing the afternoon show one day. Over at 920, like a decade ago, I guess. And Isringhausen calls me as we're driving away, and he's like, what's our boy doing here? Going on The Real Housewives, And I didn't know what that, I'd never watched it. So the first time that like an episode came in, my wife, God bless her, thank God, doesn't watch that crap either. And so it wasn't on, and I'm like, oh, okay, we'll watch this. And within the first 5 minutes, it's so obvious what they're doing with the editing that, anybody who you don't even have to be involved in television to know what it is. And I'm like, oh, this is like some of the most vile crap, and that was it. I never watched it again. But then when you're out with him, in particular not in St. Louis, people come rushing up to him, but it has nothing to do with baseball. As I said, it's because they recognize him from that show, and then because of all that played out, then he is now on TMZ all the time. And so when you're raising children, which was he was making reference to with whether it be Landon, who's a senior in high school now, and he has younger kids as well, it's just he sees that and he's going, I don't want to put him through that. But here's the other thing. In fairness, I got to say this. If you've never been in that spot, and none of us have been in that spot to that level, but if you've never been on that side of it, I also understand how you can't relate. And so you just read it and you don't know. Maybe people are more hip to, okay, maybe things that I read aren't necessarily true over the last 10, 20 years. I don't know. I know I grew up and I thought if I read it, it was true. Or if it was broadcast, it was true. And now, I can speak firsthand. I know that that's not the case. And that's a source of frustration. I think the way that you kind of have to train yourself is you just don't read it, you don't pay attention to it. But I think it's worn on him, and I think what we heard this morning was a byproduct of that.
And he's always a guy who's spoken frankly and rather unfiltered, and that's what made him a fun broadcaster to listen to. But it also at times rubs some people the wrong way. But it is very odd to me that one of the best players in the Cardinal organization over the last 30 or 40 years, and kind of a member of the organization as a broadcaster, was somehow not welcome to go in parts of the clubhouse. I really have a hard time understanding that.
And what about him saying that he's got Arenado over at his house working on his swing?
Yeah.
What about that part?
I guess that's during the offseason or during the season that was going on. I guess probably during the season.
I think it may have been written somewhere or talked about somewhere. But I think the whole thing that's going on right now is this organizational reboot, reset that they're going to go into this year. I think it's a good time for all, I would say this to Big Bill and Bill III, maybe just to have open eyes here. What is going on in front of you? What's taken place where you've gotten to this point where not just Jim, who people have varied opinions about, but it sounds like other prominent alums. Now, Chris Carpenter This was a Mike Schilt beef, is that Chris Carpenter was working for the Angels. It bothered him that he wasn't here.
It bothered Schilt that Carpenter
that was my
Angels.
understanding, is that was something that it just was one of the things he was not happy about. And Chris Carpenter was one of the ambassador, I don't know what the special assistants that during COVID, which Jim was referencing, some former players that were assistants to the GM were kind of let go during COVID, part of an across-the-board cost-cutting move, which is true. You're not going to tell one of your full-time employees you're taking a such-and-such pay cut and then you're paying former players to do nothing. But I don't think it sat well with all those former players. And so Chris Carpenter, you don't see or hear much about him in relation to the Cardinals. In fact, he was last, as I knew of it, he was working for the Angels. Jim said he almost did the same. So whatever disconnect there is, I think, and I think Bill DeWitt III would take this to heart, too, if there is because they love the nostalgia, the tradition, the former players.
Yeah, their Hall of Fame.
Yeah, if they play that up to the hilt, I think that message will hit them hard, and it may speak to an overall greater disconnect that's going on. Do they
have anyone left? Any of the Cardinal Hall of Famers or borderline Cardinal Hall of Famers that are still part of the organization?
Are they all? Well, Izzy works he's a Mo special assistant. Ryan Ludwig was referenced by Edmonds. He's like a roving hitting instructor. Now, he was not a Red Jacket Cardinal Hall of Famer, former player of some note. Yadier Molina took on that role last year, and that became kind of a punchline because, first Molina wanted to be an everyday coach, which I was told by two different people he was serious about that. I think they both agreed that wasn't likely. So then it became a position where he'd be a special assistant, but then he wasn't around one time. Right. So I think you can cut that two ways. You can say, well, that's a joke. You say you want to be involved. Where are you? Mm-hmm. You're busy with your basketball team. Or you can say, he's so frustrated by what he's seen, he don't want to be a part of it. He's not coming around because they didn't do what he suggested. So I think that one is a trickier read because Yadi's, last I checked, he's not on this show tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. No. You don't know for sure what he's thinking. But I think it's probably one of the two where he kind of blew him off, and that's a bad look, or he chose not to be a part of this mess.
And Matt Holliday backed away, too.
From the coaching duties, yeah. But now that was coming off, though, the playoff year, right? That was going into 23. So it wasn't quite as bleak as it is now. And I think that really was just a personal decision.
And I thought it was interesting, Doug, when you asked him about, because it's kind of a chicken and egg thing, do you think that they don't want you guys around because the team is struggling right now? And then he said, well, if anything, then that's a reason to have us around because we have experience in having success with this organization and we have an idea of what works. We'll see what the Cardinals have to say. Roger Hensley of the Post-Dispatch just gave me a call during a break, and I'll give him a call to see if he would like to say anything. Like I said, if somebody is on the receiving end of criticism on our platform, then we have a responsibility to allow them to defend themselves and give their side of it. So we'll see what he would like to say with regard to Edmonds' criticism. Edmonds' criticism, I don't think necessarily was specific to the sports so much as the Post-Dispatch.
He was mad they printed his address
and an issue he was having with the municipality in which he lived. So that might be beyond Roger, who's the sports editor's purview. But either way, that's who I knew to reach out to. And Martin's reached out to Bill DeWitt III. You're welcome to give your thoughts. You can call in Callier and Thompson phone lines, 314-974-0101. And you are welcome to watch the program on YouTube, youtube.com/TMASTL. And Doug, we have a wide view. We have the Goodyear blimp view today because one of the cameras
we're all in it, though, aren't we?
Working. Yeah, we're all in it, and we're super cute. And me and James were wearing the same thing, and I like when I can match with other boys. Yeah. You like that?
It's been your thing for many years.
It has. Thank you very much. It's my cake. Hey, 100 West Dental and Dr. Brandon Pryor. They built brand new offices with the most modern technology with the patient experience at the front of mind. If you don't have dental insurance, that's not a problem. The membership plan aids in the cause of dental work for those who do not have dental insurance. Do not separate dental health from the rest of your medical health. Just because insurance is separated that way doesn't mean that's the way our bodies work. Bad dental health can impact the rest of your health. So make sure you get checked up at 100 100 West Dental. You don't even make a phone call to get in. Just go to 100westdental.com. Check the calendar online for availability and book right then and there. No insurance, no problem. The membership plan aids in the cost of dental work for those who do not have dental insurance. And they have a huge offer right now for TMA listeners. If you mention my name, you get $1,000 off an Invisalign package. If you're on the fence about Invisalign, they have a digital scanner that can show you a simulation of what it'll look like before you even go through with it. It's 100 West Dental online at 100westdental.com. It's on Manchester in Baldwin, or you can call 636-585-0100. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, Chairman Kurt, in for the ill Jackson Burkett. This is TMA. Mark Hanna, Evergreen Wealth Strategies, 9 o'clock hour, 101 ESPN. This is the Morning After 101 ESPN and YouTube.com/TMASTL. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, Chairman Kurt in for the ill Jackson Burkett. We welcome your emails coming up at 10:50 for the first Design Air Heating and Cooling email of the day in the month of February as the self-made stay-at-home Ladue mom tries to defend her title from winning in the month of January. Jim Edmonds, in his interview with us, the lead today. A lot of criticism of the Cardinal organization in the conversation. And if you missed any of it, you can listen to it on the Schaefer Door Company podcast of TMA. And you can always go back and watch the program on YouTube. I watch podcasts on YouTube. That's what I do. YouTube.com/TMASTL. Chris Kerber is going to join us coming up at 10:15. Gabe DeArmond also with us as Missouri had a monster win this past weekend at number 12, Mississippi State. Doug, I know you are waiting for Joe Lunardi's bracketology.
Haven't been, no.
After this weekend. Have you seen him post a new bracketology? Do you have notifications on your phone?
No, I wouldn't pay attention to it if I saw it.
But then it'll let you know.
He's just making it up, and things change drastically one week to the next.
Yeah, that's why the one from Friday probably doesn't work, because now they got to win.
None of these will work.
I understand.
Well, he's simply making it all up to get people like you to click on it.
We're booking hotel rooms, buddy.
Yeah.
If he says they're in Cleveland, we book our.
I think it's early. I think it's too early.
Going to stay in Shaker Heights.
Okay.
It'll be fun to see him play
New
Marquette.
rankings are not out yet, by the way. The rankings.
Right around noon, Martin? Is that usually what it is?
I'm looking for Missouri because they're sitting at 20. And Mississippi State was 14. I think Mizzou's going to go to 15. I haven't broken out all the teams that won or lost.
No, you shouldn't have to.
I'd say maybe about 15.
I'm starting to become attracted to my wife's father.
What?
See, a lot of things happening in Como.
And that affects the rankings?
It affects Gabe's rankings.
Okay.
That's Gabe specific. Now, Jackson is ill, and he is truly ill. We've worked together for 5 years, and I don't know if he's missed 2 days from being sick total, but here he is missing Friday and Monday. So obviously he was sick throughout the weekend, and there's nothing that he would like to be in for more than today, not because of the Edmonds interview, but because of, I think even 101 ESPN listeners who hate the NBA would acknowledge the story is warranted for discussion, and that is a trade that I saw people trying to give a Major League Baseball analogy for those who don't follow the NBA, but it'd be something like if Jacob deGrom got traded for Paul Skeens, or if a superstar young position player, take your pick of whoever it would be, would get traded for Mike Trout. In other words, somebody who, great career, but their time is kind of in the past. Doncic doesn't turn 26 until later on this month. So you have a guy who is one of the best players in the NBA going to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, who for the record is 32. And people are going, what in the world is going on? When this news broke on Saturday, people thought that the person who broke it, Shams Charania, had been hacked. Charles Barkley has given his thoughts. Doug, take a listen to what Charles Barkley has.
Hit the lever, Chairman. Okay.
Let me tell you something. The only people know Luka Doncic is the Dallas Mavericks. Guys who've been with him for years or who are around him every day. He's a great player. But all us talking heads, they know something. They must know something we don't know. Because, listen, he's been hurt. Everybody complains about his conditioning. But once you give a guy 5 years, $350 million, y'all are stuck together for life.
And that deal is just around the corner for Luka. I actually listened to a little bit of the Bill Simmons podcast because
they were stunned, Martin. Russillo and him were but beside themselves.
And I almost never listened to podcasts like that, but I thought I want to just see what does the NBA read. And what I thought was interesting, they both said, "When's the hit piece? When is the piece in Dallas?" It says, well, like people start whispering behind the scenes. Well, he didn't show up for a practice. He's eating a lot of fries, waffle. And the hit piece will be coming on behind the scenes why they didn't like him, because the fans are irate. This is one of the biggest, they're saying, seismic sports shifts in Dallas. Is it on par with Tom Landry getting fired? Like all these big moments in Dallas sports history. You got a superstar player that you ship out for somebody who, yes, is a 10-time All-Star, but that means he's been around long enough to be a 10-time All-Star. It doesn't make any sense on the surface, and maybe they'll come clean that they just didn't want to get. Maybe they say, we didn't want to invest that kind of money in him, but it's shocking. And I mentioned this earlier. He put out a thank you to everybody in Dallas. He just didn't mention the Mavs.
If something happened, obviously, or you wouldn't get rid of your superstar. Something happened there. He's probably the biggest sports star in Dallas in that whole town. And that's tough to do in a town that's got the Dallas Cowboys in it. It'd be like when Brett Hull left here. It's a big deal. But I read one report that they thought he was up around 270 pounds now. He's listed at 230, and he gets hurt, it seems like, almost every year. But, boy, when he plays, he's as good as anybody out there.
Career average is like 29 a game, 29 points a game. And then the whole NBA discussion, does that mean LeBron is leaving? I'm like, well, why would you? And they were saying, LeBron to the Warriors, here we go. But if you've got Luka, now you got LeBron, you're a little more intriguing this postseason, aren't you? Putting those two together?
If you just, don't think about it too much, though, it all makes sense.
See, what about that?
Okay.
Who was? I watched that Bill Simmons podcast yesterday with Russillo. Who was the third gentleman on the far right?
Chairman, we don't crowdsource on this show.
His name was Mahoney, and I think he's some kind of NBA insider. That's the best I got. Does that work?
Yeah, that's
Boomer Kingsley.
Boomer Kingsley.
It was Mahoney talking. Look at the games played, okay? 72, 61. This is for Doncic in terms of missing games. The league plays 82, and in his career, he's played 72, 61, 66, 65, 70. This year he's at 22, and what are they, about 50 games in or something like that? So, yeah, missing games has been an issue.
Yeah, 15 or so games a year.
And that deal is just sort of built in the NBA. He's due, I think it's a year plus from now, he would get the 5-year, $350 million deal.
My goodness.
That's just the NBA money these days.
Yeah. 2 years ago, he averaged about 34 points a game. That's filling it up.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys, he looks like he's playing in slow motion. Just kind of whatever he does works, even though he's not really fast and doesn't seem to be quick, but it works.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to email in on the topic. And Jackson not being here and wanting us to embargo the topic in the Stiefel dossier, Martin.
Okay. Probably furious.
Yeah, he's probably furious. We've been talking about
Who's going to tell him that we actually talked to NBA and he wasn't here to be part of it?
It was actually relevant. And I saw Jimmy Butler rejected a trade to Golden State because he didn't want to sign an extension there. So Jimmy Butler could have been going, Jackson's be sitting here with a soft cow right now. Email in the morning after at InsideSTL.com. Design Air is the sponsor of the email today. And if you're taking a look at Design Air Heating and Cooling and the forecast for today, Doug, believe it or not, I'm looking at the forecast in Jupiter for next week as we'll be broadcasting from spring training a week from today. But look at this, 58 degrees in St. Louis right now, and I've got a high of 71 at 3 p.m. with the sun shining. It's time to compress the golf ball outside for the first time in 2025. Because we're going low this year.
It's going to be wet out there in St. Louis, wouldn't it?
I'll probably go to family golf and head off the mat.
Okay.
If you see me there, do not talk to me.
No, or make eye contact.
When I'm compressing the golf ball, I need all attention on it. Plus, I'll be probably hurting a 3-year-old.
So hurting him?
Yeah. That's probably what I'll be doing. But the weather is glorious today.
But you certainly don't shine when you're hitting balls, do you? You don't sign at all?
I can't. I'm just so dialed in right now. I am so dialed in.
I can see where you would be.
Design Air Heating and Cooling is online at designairservice.com. Not only will they fix your heating system and when it warms up, your cooling system, but if they see you don't have great seats at a Billikens game, Seth Goldcamp will show up and give you front row seats. That's what Design Air Heating and Cooling does. That's what they do.
It's a nice sponsor.
It's a nice sponsor to have, Chairman. DesignairService.com. That's where you go. Seth Goldcamp, and he is the longest-running sponsor here on TMA. Sponsor of the email today, the morning after, at InsideSTL.com. I had this email sent to me by the Hunchback of Vaughn Castle. It's an interview from KSHB. What affiliate in Kansas City is that? NBC affiliate, I think? Is that right?
There's no way to know, Tim. No way to look it up.
It looks like the NBC affiliate. They did an interview with Missouri Gaming Commission Chair Jan Zimmerman. And in the interview, she said that the state remains on track to begin issuing sports gambling licenses by the end of June. which is in line with what she announced shortly after the November 5th vote. Zimmerman also said Missouri's rollout hit a major milestone this week when it forwarded a draft copy of its proposed rules and regulations to Governor Mike Keogh's office for review. She said part of our timeline that has been created by the staff that was discussed with the commission at our last meeting was to get those preliminary rules to the governor's office. Zimmerman said, we've met that date on Monday, January 27th. Those rules went to the governor's office. She said she understands many Missourians are itching for the chance to play a wager from their couch, but noted that the initiative petition gives the Missouri Gaming Commission until December 1st, 2025 to launch. She said we got a gasp from the staff when we said we wanted to be live by mid to late summer because it's so involved. That whole application process is really intensive and really takes a lot of work by the background investigators. It takes a lot of work by the people who are trying to be licensed because they have to get us all this paperwork about their financial backgrounds and all that. We knew that even June was going to be really aggressive. The staff, they've been working nights and weekends and holidays to try to make sure that we can get it there. So all 13 brick and mortar casinos currently operating in Missouri will have a chance to apply for a sports gambling license to offer sports gambling in person and online, which includes mobile apps. So the target is still June. So that would allow for the NFL and college football season to be in play, which I think deep down is the main priority.
No, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
God bless a state agency working hard to get something done. I mean, how about that? That they're actually putting in the hours, trying to figure it out. They're not adjourning.
No, a lot of money involved.
Not taking a leak or anything. No.
Pretty good incentive.
Taking a leak on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt that it's a lot of work, but I appreciate them digging in.
So that is at kshb.com on Missouri and sports gambling. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, Chairman Kurt filling in admirably for Jackson Burkett. Keep in mind, Doug, Chairman Kurt, I mean, he's essentially doing this for the love of the game. He's a Sound Story employee. Really? He's an independent contractor here with him. Okay. And Jackson gets ill, and he slides right in like a champion.
Well, we appreciate the effort.
Yeah, I enjoy being on this side of things. It's, it can get a little hectic, a little stressful at times, but
I want you to take a deep breath. You're doing a great job.
Doug, use the 7-4-7. So you inhale through the nose, 7 seconds.
That's a lot of inhale time.
Hold for 4.
Snoring over there.
And then count to 7, release. And what that's going to do, it's going to calm the heart rate because you've never played me heads up. And if your heart rate is a little too high and you see somebody my size on the tee box, what that's gonna do, it's gonna intimidate you.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And so you need to get the breathing down.
7 seconds in.
Take me to Pleasure Town, Vaughn.
Okay, stop it, Hoffman.
Right, Hoffman.
I feel like if Tim said, hold your breath.
Hold it now.
And then don't release, Chairman Kurt's like, that's fine. I'll never breathe again. If that's what Timmy tells me, if that's what he says, I will never breathe again.
Yeah, your lower extremities.
What about that?
Were compromised.
Martin's trying to figure out the context.
I clicked on Stephen A. to hear a little NBA. I thought I would consume as much as I could yesterday to understand the depth of this trade. But I clicked on Stephen A. and it must have been a couple of days old. He's like, the thing about Trump! And he's like screaming. And I'm like, I thought this was an NBA podcast.
No.
Apparently not.
He's weaving his way into the political sphere. Nice. Hey, guys, I saw Tim at Family Golf back in the fall and was way too nervous to say anything.
Okay,
Seeing him was enough. That's from Big Tough.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight.
It's the size of the dog. Is the size of the dog in the fight.
Right. You hear that, Doug? It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size
of the dog in the fight. Gotcha.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Kerber is going to join us on the other side of the break. This is TMA 101 ESPN. Michael's Flooring has been family and locally owned for over 30 years, and Michael takes pride in helping and making sure his employees are happy and make a great living. His passion's flooring. And when you order from him, he wants you to have the best experience for the best price. Check it out for yourself. Go to igotfloored.com, and you can see all the offers that they have at Michael's Flooring. His passion's flooring. When you order from him, he wants you to have the best experience for the best price. Just come in or talk to them, and you will see the difference. They want to make sure they suggest the best thing for you, not pushing what corporate's telling them they have too much of. They have it all. Carpet's awesome. In back, they have so many varieties of all flooring and have 3 easy-to-get-to locations in the St. Louis metropolitan area: Creve Coeur, Darden Prairie, and St. Peter's. It's Michael's Flooring. Check it out for yourself by going online at igotfloored.com. That's Michael's Flooring, igotfloored.com.
How about this review for Classic Air Care from Linda? They were able to fix our older AC unit in one visit. Very good service. Technician was very professional. This company also installed a new furnace a few years ago for us. Great service. Came and installed a new furnace in the middle of the winter when it went out. They were able to put in a new furnace within a few hours. Great service, reasonable cost compared to the other quote we got. Highly recommend Classic Air Care. That came from Linda. Folks, I keep telling you about Classic Air Care, the quality of the service you're going to get, and that's the quality of service that people are talking about when they fill out these reviews. It's a 4.8 Google rating. You've got to earn that with great customer service, and that's what Classic Air Care is doing. So whether it's just maintaining your unit through the rest of the winter, maybe you do need a new one, maybe you're thinking, I've got to get a new AC unit before the spring and the summer hit, Classic Air Care is who you need to check in with. You can get a free quote online. They can also come out and just do it for you in person as well if you'd like. You can shop for filters online. You can get part of maintenance plans. Every aspect that you need to take care of one of the most important pieces of equipment in your house, Classic Air Care can do it, and they do it with pride. They take care of their employees, so their employees take care of you. It's Classic Air Care. They take care of the Kerber household. They'll take care of yours as well. Check out those reviews online and book an appointment online as well. ClassicAirCare.com. They've been making people comfortable since 1926.
This is Chairman Kurt with another Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Yesterday in the Pro Bowl, make it 3 consecutive years that Eli Manning has gotten the best of his brother in the Pro Bowl, a 76-63 win in the 2025 Pro Bowl. Peyton Manning still winless in those games. This has been another Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
It's TMA 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne, Chairman Kurt in for the ill Jackson Burkett. You can watch the program on youtube.com/TMA STL, and you can always stream it and podcast it on the TMA STL app. Joining us right now on the Callier and Thompson phone lines, it is Chris Kerber. Chris, what a win it was last night to end the losing streak, and it put them to the test after having the 1-0 lead. Then Utah scores, but Blues are able to respond and get out of there with a win. What stood out to you from last night's victory?
Well, I think the bottom line, Tim, is once Utah tied that game, the Blues top line, which I thought had a really, really good game, came through with a goal. You know, they made the play in front of the net. It was a forecheck that started with Colton Parayko. Pavel Buchnevich came in to support. They got the puck to Robert Thomas, and he was able to thread the needle to Kyrou. And there's the game breaker for you. And it had been a little while since the Blues' best players had taken over a game to help them win it. And I think that was the big takeaway from yesterday. I also thought that they just played an all-around solid game. And I'll tell you something, watching the practice the day before at the Olympic Oval there in Utah, I didn't think there was any way that Jordan Binnington was going to have a bad game. Like, he looked dialed in, and I think he was a man on a mission, and he was fantastic in the game as well.
It certainly was a nice bounce-back game from the Colorado game where it looked like they just kind of had cashed it in. And then last night it looks like they're back and thinking maybe they can still get something done this year.
Well, I've gotten well beyond trying to look at one game and think that that's a game that's going to put you on a roll, right? It's just the next game, and there hadn't been the response you needed during that 4-game losing streak, and they got the response that they needed in the game yesterday, Doug. But that is the enigma of this team, and that is why, I mean, it's the old Benny Green, you are what your record says you are. That's why the Blues have been hovering around 500 pretty much all season long, those inconsistencies. So that's Jim Montgomery's biggest probably off-ice hurdle than anything else, I think, and that is kind of redesigning and getting that culture back to where there's a belief of what it takes game in, game out, and those consistencies start to really be there. And it just is going to take some time, and you're hoping that it comes a little bit quicker, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. This time it's taking longer, and it's keeping this team around the 500 level because of it.
Was Monty's boiling point Friday? I know on the broadcast, you and Joey were talking about he was smashing an iPad and screaming at players. Was that as intense as you've seen him Friday in Colorado?
Yeah, I didn't see him smash the iPad, but yeah, he was fired up. And you know, look, he's a good coach that can keep things light when he needs to, but he gets the attention of this group when he does as well. Yeah, I mean but at some point in time, Martin, the consistency's got to come from the players. These guys are well coached. They're well coached. Look, they were coached pretty well with Drew Bannister too. You know, I mean, don't forget. I mean, they were 10 games over 500 down the stretch. That's the best stretch in a year and a half, and that was under Bannister. In the second half of last season. So to me, it just comes down to enough guys, pulling the rope in the same way. And Doug Armstrong referenced it when he met the media the other day. When he said we've got to get our top 6 all pulling the rope in the same way. Well, that's up to those guys. I mean, coaches can motivate, they can try all they want, but at some point in time, those guys have to do it. And I thought they did it last night.
Do you get the sense that the team in general has the confidence that they can still make a push for the playoffs?
I do. I mean, it's one aspect of this season where, when you look at the group, there really has been a good attitude around the team. There's been positive vibes around the team. You see the support. There's good camaraderie on the team. So, yeah, I do. Now, look, you've got a hell of a schedule coming up. I mean, Edmonton tomorrow night, Florida on Thursday night. You've got a lot of Western Conference teams coming in, so you still do have some control over your own fate. But you're going to have to beat some really good teams to do it. And we'll see how that goes. When I said I'm kind of done trying to figure out if a win's going to put you on a run, you really felt like they were stringing something together after those back-to-back wins over Calgary and moved themselves to within 1 point of a playoff spot. And all of a sudden you look now, and even with the win yesterday, Calgary won, you're 7 points out. You're just as close to a top 5 pick in the draft as you are to making the playoffs right now. So this season still has the ability to go either way. And guys, I think either one of those ways probably is a good thing for the franchise, if that's going to make sense.
Well, yeah, if you don't want to be stuck in the middle. Either be bad, get a high pick, or get into the postseason. Putting the top line back together, I think at some point, if you're the coach, you're like, I got Thomas, I got Kerber, I got Buchnevich. These are my most talented guys, my high-paid players. Do you think he just looked around and said, all right, nothing else is working, let's just stick them back together?
I think he really liked over about a good 10 to 15 game stretch, maybe if not a little longer. I think he really liked what he what he saw with Holloway, Kyrou, and Shen, and that was going for the team really well. But in the end, he needed others to be going as well, and there really, I don't think, was a choice. But as much as they tried to hold that line together and get the other ones going, putting Kyrou back with Buchnevich and Thomas seemed like an inevitability, over the last 5 games. So, yeah, I mean, look, you don't really have any other options. Jake has been successful up there. That's the one. Brandon Saad obviously didn't work out as that option. And I don't know that there's any other real option to put up there right now. So, look, if to be a better team and to get some wins, you've got to front load that top line, and you've got to be playing guys 22 minutes a game. Hell, that's what it takes to do it. And so far, I mean, shoot, it was 1 game. We'll see what happens against McDavid and Draisaitl tomorrow night. But we'll take it for 1 game.
I felt bad for you, Kerbs. You called them the Utah Jazz. He said they need to get a name for this team. As an announcer, that's a little bit of a hurdle when there's no team name.
Okay, listen. Little broadcast, little technical side of broadcasting. Okay, there's rhythms and there's cadences that you get into, right? So you're used to saying like, well, here come the Blues, or the Blues is center ice, or the Blackhawks dump it back in. You go, well, what the hell are they? Right?
The Utahs.
And so at one point I gave up. We played them 3 times now. I've called them the Utes. At one point last night I said the hockey club is center. I'm like, God, that sounds really bad. I hope they come up with a name. And then because it's just, you've only been used to one team in Utah. That's the Jazz. The Jazz actually just slipped out of my mouth on that one. But yeah, they've decided that they're not going to go with the Yeti. The too many copyright infringements in terms of logos, trademarks with the Yeti company that's already out there. So apparently they're going to go with either the Utah Hockey Club, the Mammoths, or the Outlaws. And they're putting it to fan votes during their remaining home games, and we'll see how it goes. Now, for the record, I don't believe one bit of those fan votes. I think they know what they're going to go with. They're going to engage the fans this way, and they're still going to go with whatever they want to go with anyway.
Oh, sure.
Wow, it's like an NFL relocation. It's predetermined, apparently.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Shocker, isn't it?
Bandits doesn't seem like that would work, or Outlaws, I think he said, right? Outlaws. I don't think of Utah as being a place for outlaws.
Yeah, I kind of like the name of it. There's a minor league hockey team, I forget where they are, that has their nickname. Mammoth, apparently, obviously you've got the woolly mammoth, but Mammoth apparently also refers to either part of the mountain range or something that's out there mountain wise. So there's that. I don't know. They just come up with any name. I don't care. But the Utah Hockey Club, for me as a broadcaster, just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Here comes if you have to say the Utah Hockey Club every time, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Jim Edmonds was talking about his Barn Cats earlier. There's a name that's hanging out there. Barn Cats is available. It's available.
I mean, when I started thinking about which college is it that's the running Utes?
Utah is the Utes, right?
Yeah, they're the Utes.
Are they running?
Is Utah the Utes?
Yes.
Yeah, Utah Utes.
No, Utah State is the Aggies, I believe.
Yeah. Who Mizzou beat in 2020.
That's correct. 2020. That was that 2023 NCAA tournament.
I don't know the years.
It's just the Utes. It's not the running Utes. The running Utes. I'm thinking. I'm kind
Running Rebels of UNLV, I think, is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, that's what I'm confusing the two. I'm blending the two together. So, but even hell, I'll take the running Utes over Utah Hockey Club.
Utah Hockey
I would think
Club. It is kind of tricky. Here comes Utah Hockey Club. Doesn't flow real well.
Hey, let me flip the tables on this interview here, guys. Here's legit question. Okay, what do you think is better for the St. Louis Blues this season? Make the playoffs or end up with a top 5 pick?
Top 5 pick.
I say make the playoffs. You've already had 2 years in a row where you haven't made the playoffs. You get fans used to not being a competitive team, and I think it's a bad thing. And there's no guarantee with a top 5 pick he's gonna be a difference maker. Some of these kids that they pick in hockey look like they're about 15 years old.
I want them to make the playoffs, don't get me wrong, but when it gets down to it, I think that the organization knows deep down the likelihood is that it's a few years away, and so I think it would be better. I agree with what you were saying earlier, Curbs. The one thing that you really don't want is to kind of just be stuck in the middle. And so one way or the other would be ideal. And, I'll be pulling for them to win. I'm thrilled that they won last night. But I think realistically, if you're talking about the ultimate goal being the Stanley Cup, then I think they're closer if they weirdly actually fall off this year. Which I realize might sound counterintuitive, but that's where I am.
And it doesn't feel like a team that's going to make a deep run. So to be honest, if they got in, it might be a quick exit. So I'm going to go with the 5th pick. Then you put Snuggie with Daly and the top pick. Doug, you get Daly and Snuggie together with the top pick.
The top pick will be here in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
It's not
listen, I think it's such a great debate now because I don't really think that there's a wrong answer there. You're playing meaningful games, so young players, you get a chance to play those meaningful games and get a taste of the playoffs. And if you talk to any player that that was part of the Blues, growth process, the run to the conference final in 2016 was a massive help to them winning the Stanley Cup in 2019. That said, I go back to 2006 when the Blues were dead last. They had the first overall pick. But it was 2 years later. They had the first overall pick, then they had in 2007 the 9th overall pick. They traded the 9th overall pick to San Jose. San Jose took Logan Couture. The St. Louis Blues, I think it was the 14th pick they got from San Jose. They took Lars Eller. All right. And then who, by the way, became a hell of a good NHL player and a Stanley Cup champion too. And, but it was the next year, right, where they ended up with the 4th overall pick, and that's where they ended up with Alex Pietrangelo. Right. And when I look at the St. Louis Blues right now, I also want to see them make the playoffs. I think the final 29 games will be exciting as hell if they can go on a push and make this great. If you take the emotion of that out of it, if you do that and can make the playoffs, great. You're going to take the playoffs, okay? But even then, if they stay where they are and end up with a top 7 pick, a top 5, maybe you get lucky enough to win the draft lottery. I don't know. But if you don't, you just end up in that range. With as well as they've been drafting, as much as you can trust what this Blues organization has done in the last, nearly 20 years with the draft, like that high pick could be a huge difference maker for a long time now versus just the 1 year. I think it's a great debate, and I love hearing fans pick sides on that one.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm on an island then.
Doug's Island.
I'm on an island.
Mm-hmm. That'll be a new texture to the show.
I don't think Doug is wrong. I think Doug's absolutely right. I mean, look, the Philadelphia Flyers just traded Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee to the Calgary Flames. Those players were picked by Philadelphia with the 2 first-round picks that they got in the trade for Braden Shen. Okay? Look at what the Blues have done since that trade. Philadelphia has done nothing. And then the 2 first-round picks that were decently high picks, the 2 first-round picks that Philadelphia used, they've now traded them to the Calgary Flames, and Philadelphia is still on the outside looking in. Doug's right. There is no guarantee that high pick is going to turn into something.
I think I know what
Doug's Island just shut down.
Doug's Island.
Yeah,
I think I know what's right. Stillman and Zimmerman, they'd probably vote for playoffs, keep the fan base a little bit happy.
Would.
Yeah, I think
they want that building packed.
Yeah.
Well, It'll be interesting to see how it plays
Doug,
out.
we'll see what happens on your island, okay?
Doug's Island.
Doug's Island.
Curbs, always enjoyed the conversation, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Have an awesome week. Talk to you next week.
Thank you, too. Chris Kerber with us here. Miss anything, you can go back and podcast it. Podcast via the Schaefer Door Company podcast. They're online at SchaeferDoor.com. That's Jason Gosserow at SchaeferDoor.com. SCHAEFER door.com. If you hear that garage door spring crash, that means you go to SchaeferDoor.com and you can call or text 636-782-3608. It's going to get quickest response time. They service all kinds of garage doors for service and new installs at Schaefer Door. And if this happened over the weekend, they have Monday morning standby service for those doors that break over the weekend. They service commercial doors as well. So if you run a business or warehouse with big, tall doors, Schaefer is experienced in these types of jobs. It's Schaefer Door, online at SchaeferDoor.com. Call or text 636-782-3608. Schaefer Door is a CHI overhead door dealer. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Martin Kilcoyne with you. This is TMA, presented to you by Brian Krupp on 101 ESPN and the TMA STL YouTube channel. It's TMA 101 ESPN. Miss anything today? Go back and podcast Jim Edmonds' conversation. Certainly the headline, about a 45-minute conversation with Jim Edmonds, Schaefer Door Company, sponsor of the podcast. We'll have the Design, Air, Heating, and Cooling email of the day coming your way here in a matter of moments. And Callier and Thompson sponsor the phone lines where Gabe DeArmond, Chris Kerber, and Jim Edmonds joined us today here on 101 ESPN.
If you want to get your house spruced up, making it look just as good as it possibly can, Collier & Thompson is the company you need to know about. It is your go-to source for every design consideration. It's hard to know these days who you can trust to be in your home and who will back up their work, who's going to show up on time, who's going to answer your phone calls. Well, Collier & Thompson will take all that worry away. They stand behind every job they do, and during the process, they are always available to you in case you need to make any changes, in case you have any questions. They truly value that trust that you put in them. The Collier & Thompson team cares about the work they produce. For them, it's more than just a job. They take pride in every job that they do. They can sum up their core values by just simply doing the right thing. Might cost them a little extra time and dollars, but it's what sets them apart from the competition. All of their carpenters and subcontractors take care of a customer's home the same as if it was their own home. They've been in business now since the 1950s. Their employees have a combined 165 plus years of experience. These are people who've done it before. They've seen it all. Anything you can throw at them that you want done in your home, your kitchen, your bath, wherever in your house, Collier & Thompson has the people to do it and do it right and do it better than anyone else in town. It's quality that will last without another remodel. C&T, as I like to call them sometimes. They get the job done the right way the first time. Collier & Thompson is on Manchester and Baldwin, next to Uncle Bill's Pancake House. Collier & Thompson, come home to quality online at collierandthompson.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's TMA, presented to you by Brown & Croup, and Design, Air, Heating, and Cooling email of the day is next.
This is another SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues with the night off after their win yesterday. They'll be back in action tomorrow against Connor McDavid and the Oilers. You can hear that right here on 101 ESPN. Pregame at 6, puck drops at 7. This has been another SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
It's TMA, 101 ESPN and the TMA STL YouTube channel. Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, Chairman Kurt with you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a brand new month. Everybody is tied at 0 for the Design Air Heating and Cooling Email of the Day standings. Doug, let's get it on.
Okay, all right.
Defending champion, the self-made stay-at-home Ladue mom, nowhere to be found. Guess she wins and then she runs.
Right. Probably vacationing now with the huge prize pool she won.
What does she win? Is that
nothing.
$1 million?
I think they win nothing.
It's not $1 million.
Our heartfelt congratulations. And that's worth plenty.
Good day, gents. I'm new here. Until everyone gets to know me better, I'll just tell you a different detail about me daily. Today, the one thing I want you to know is I'm an elite north of St. Charles. I'm also short. Another thing is this camera angle today has me going, if you know what I mean. I'm going to read that again to see if you can.
What do you mean?
Another thing is this camera angle today has me going, if you know what I mean.
Okay, this is a lousy email. Who was it, Tim?
That's not done yet, though. Good
Okay.
news. Lastly, I don't like when people get to know me. But another thing you need to know is I want to be Doug's lawn boy.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy Ballgame is a man of the people that doesn't want to be around people. Feel better, Jackson. # Festus. That's from the YouTube chat. Well, the YouTube chat has a representative emailing in.
The YouTube chat.
I didn't know they had elected a representative to represent their...
But we're just going to get to know him in bits and pieces. And he's from north of St. Charles.
Morning, gents. Wow. Jimmy Ballgame dropped bombs on us this morning. What even is the state of the Cardinals? The apathy has set in across the St. Louis metro area. How a great franchise has fallen. The Cardinal Hall of Famer has let the air out of the room. And no, it wasn't a DeWitt wet fart.
Oh.
Jimmy said the quiet part out loud. So refreshing to hear from an insider's perspective. When the lame duck GM has had one job to cut payroll this offseason, seemingly no payroll's been cut. Thank you for bringing the great Jimmy Ballgame onto the program. That's from Droid Effects. P.S. The overhead camera makes you guys look so freaking cute.
Nice.
Does it make us look cuter?
I like that.
Can't see our faces, so that would make sense.
Yeah, it helps out.
For the first time in my live-long life, I was looking forward to a court basketball discussion. But Jackson's embargo forebode any discussion like he is our supreme leader. He needs to have the same level of commitment and dedication as our alderpersons who urinate in trash cans to continue a filibuster. It's called haunt to. This is why legends like Jim Edmonds and Timmy Tom Tom moved to Tennessee to cut grass with a tractor and startle barn cats. I haven't been this mad since the weather person's forecast of 4 weeks of snow hit 45 minutes later than expected. That's from Shooter McGavin, Vice President of the Kansas City Province of the St. Gabe 7th Grade Championship Parade.
Shooter McGavin.
Landing in Barrett's top 20 is cool and all, but seeing those blank wood panels instead of Doug and Tim's faces on YouTube reminded me of the old days when technical difficulties were your calling card. Low production value was your bailiwick. I kind of miss the deafening sound of nostril hairs whistling directly into a microphone. And I miss the ever-present noise of ice cubes rattling in a cup. I also miss the way the studio door used to violently slam shut several times per show, somehow, always right in the middle of a live read. I'd give anything to hear some lip smacking or heavy breathing or coughing just one more time. Sure, Martin battled the cough for a few days, but it's not the same. I want that powerful elderly smoker's cough to tickle my eardrums. Jimmy Ballgame was great, but I saw on Facebook that Iggy made sloppy joes over the weekend, and I just know those sandwiches would have been your lead story today. If you're out there, Ken, I know that Hawaiian Tropic is treating you right. That's from the JV golf coach. P.S. I actually like this new zoomed-out camera angle with everybody in one single shot. Brilliant idea to use the security cam located on the roof of the Diamonds Direct building next door. That's what this camera is? It's the security camera from Diamonds Direct?
We hacked into their system and borrowed it.
It's working. No idea.
JV golf coach.
Konnichiwa, gentlemen. Love the show. I recently switched jobs, requiring me to wear both. Doug, I'm going to read this again.
Okay.
I recently switched jobs, requiring me to wear clothes. I'm going to read it one more time.
Try it again.
I recently switched jobs, requiring me to wear clothes and commute to work.
Hideous.
Omit that first wear. I think it'll.
Which means now, I'm listening to your show every day again. It's crept into my daily life, and I found myself thinking about Tim in church on Sunday, wondering what he was doing and why we were 15 minutes into the service and the pastor hadn't mentioned Tim once. Let's just say it caused me to question things. I didn't question your show's dedication to hardscrabble journalism, and I appreciate the hard work. I also appreciate the fit of Martin's T-shirt today, as it reminded me I needed more cream in my coffee. On the same note, Doug reminded me I needed less cream in my laundry.
No.
Thanks to the Daily Inspiration, boys. That's from the Rogue Onion writing in. The Rogue Onion,
The
Doug.
Rogue Onion.
Longtime legend.
Yeah, he's back. Rogue Onion.
Doug, it's a girl. Another girl.
Sure it is.
And she has a husband.
Okay.
My husband called in several years ago and got on air. You may not remember, but he called in as a boy named Stacy. Do you remember a boy named Stacy?
No, I don't.
The conversation was about the housewives' pyramid schemes. He was a great fan, so much of a fan that I had to listen almost daily about what was discussed on the show. Most vividly, I recall how gay Doug is.
What?
Recently on my podcast app, Tim's podcast appeared. I graciously declined the invitation to listen. For some reason, on my way to drop the children off at school, 101 was on my radio. I heard Tim's voice, and it gave me a nice memory of Rich telling me about several things I didn't care about. I still saw in my mind what I thought Tim always looked like. Normal suburban dad, cargo pants, and a fresh pair of New Balances. Doug, it's not really my...
Well, it sounds like you.
I Googled the show and was pleasantly surprised by Tim's attractiveness.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, here we go.
But secretly disappointed that I wasn't correct in my assessment from the voice. Doug, exactly what I pictured. Definitely into men.
Oh, who is this?
I listened. This was sent directly to my email.
I'm not seeing this.
This one's directly to my email. I listened to Tim's podcast yesterday. The starter pack guy was on, and the discussion of the pyramid scheme resonated. And I knew I needed to let you guys know now that you have entertained me on my own for almost 2 weeks. So long story long, I might not be from Ladue, but I guarantee as St. Peter's girls are more scrappy. You've gained a new follower in myself, and I can't wait to listen about Christmas/March Madness. Let's go Musketeers. She's a Xavier fan?
It's not a she. This is a guy.
R.I.P. Rich King, also known as a boy named Stacy. Yours truly, that's from Mrs. King.
Mr. King.
No, it's
spreading falsehoods.
Mrs. King. And finally, Sadie Hawkins, Doug. Mizzou basketball picked up a statement 27-point road win at 14th ranked Mississippi State with Caleb Grill dropping bombs from midcourt like he's Steph Curry. Luka Doncic was traded for the Mavs to the Lakers for Anthony Davis in what by all accounts is the most shocking trade in NBA history. But apparently we can't talk about it until Libby Jack's basketball boner subsides long enough for him to come back to work. The Cardinals continue to sit this one out, but Doug thinks if they can just get hot, they can hang around in a crap division. But I think the lead is that the gentleman who texts in as the total package is already thrown in the towel in the doggy season before it even begins, which prompted Chairman Kurt to play a random soccer drop that just went on and on without much of a payoff. Ours is the type of presentation where an 8-time Gold Glove winner feels free to drop it at any time and curse like a sailor while expressing his dissatisfaction with how insular the Cardinals have become with relation to former star players. Apparently they don't need help from guys who won championships while performing at the highest level, perhaps because the organization is now run by a bunch of insecure dweebs who never even got a whiff of the show as a player. Great interview, except on the YouTube feed, half of the screen was just a blank wood background next to Doug and Martin just sitting there quietly like A.J. Hawk.
Body's not even cold yet.
Chairman Kurt was quick to deflect blame for Tim's camera being off, saying he was never trained for camera work. He didn't do the job. It wasn't anything I did wrong. That comes from Buck Swope. And Doug, that's what we have for the Design Air Heating and Cooling email today. What you got?
Buck Swope with a nice little email, but I'm going to vote for JV Golf Coach.
I agree, JV Golf Coach.
JV Golf Coach has won. He's on the board to lead off the month of February. BK and Ferrari are up next. We got to go. Bye.